Hey everyone, welcome to Frame Trap. We're here with Ian Hink.
Hi.
There's
a big crack in the floor. I just fell down.
Huge crack.
You're already throwing me off for two reasons. Huge crack in the floor.
Yeah.
I always expect like a special hey.
Yeah,
that was
long high.
That was a business I'm signing the checks hey. Uh-huh. I just don't know.
I was shaking it up.
Okay.
Keep them on their toes.
So you're just shaking it up. We don't need
Just
to
shaking it
like
up.
go
Everything's
through.
fine.
Everything's
No,
fine. Everything's fine. And back after missing like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Glad to have it back. Michael Huber.
It's good to be back.
See, you're aligning with everything's normal with you. Okay,
Everything's
we're
normal.
back. We're back on the normal flow of Frame Trap. I feel like the last couple of intros I keep bringing up summer, but I keep thinking about summer. Summer is my favorite season, and the reason summer is my favorite season is because when I was a kid, I loved it because I didn't have to go to school.
Yeah.
It's just 3 months of I can play as many video games as I want, and I can't get in trouble for not doing my homework. And it's something special that I've always hung on to. And then I thought about that a little bit more, and I thought, if I could have one thing back from my childhood, whether it was like a physical thing or just some sort of quality of life thing or way the world was working, what would it be? And I wasn't sure. It was hard to pin it down to one thing. Is there one thing right now, if you could will it from your childhood into existence to be part of your life, what would it be?
I wish I could watch Aliens for the very first time again.
Why that one specifically?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
You just want that first viewing experience?
Yep.
They need to make a product where you can pick something like minuscule like that, wipe your brain, and just experience it for the first time over and over again.
Whoop, I just punched your mic.
It's cool.
I wish that hadn't happened. I wish I hadn't punched Huber's mic.
So you were a child when you punched the mic, and then
Yes.
post-punch you're an
Yeah.
adult.
Now I'm
So
an
you wish
adult,
you could go back.
and I wish...
Grown up.
Oh, I don't know. I had a sad answer was my first one, but then I was like, nah. And then I was like...
That's ease.
I have a memory of... well, I mean, I wish my mom wasn't dead. That's the sad answer.
Yeah.
But like, and then I had a funny thought of remembering back to my friend Brandon and I playing Final Fantasy X on 2 TVs next to each other for like an entire week. Mm-hmm. And then I realized like that's literally our job. So I was like, okay, I don't need that back.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that sense of freedom, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good sense of freedom too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Life is good, Ben. I want for nothing,
Nice.
more or less.
I like that answer. Yeah. That's a good positive answer.
Childhood was pretty depressing, so now like things are a lot happier now.
He's looking up.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of miss.
But I wish the Berenstein Bears was still spelled Steen.
Yeah.
I'm like on this now. That's what I want. I want to be
love
back in my
Berenstein Bears.
original universe.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Just, I was wrong about that, and everyone in my life, every single person that I interacted with was wrong about the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Like
That was the world I was in.
I want to like listen to the show again and see if they just say it Berenstein Bears, even though it's pronounced or spelled Stain.
Well, it's the accents. It's because somebody sent us a link, and it does sound like they're saying Berenstain Bears.
yeah.
The Berenstain, I don't know.
The Berenstein Bear. Because it's like, I watched that show.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a really like picky person, so I feel
Yeah.
like I wouldn't have continued pronouncing it wrong.
But you did.
Right.
Your whole life is a lie.
My entire life is a lie.
I guess if I had to pick something, as fun as it is to talk with you guys about games, and it is, I wouldn't give it up for anything. I wouldn't trade one for the other. But I feel like as time goes on, it's harder and harder for me to just play a game if it's outside of work.
Oh, yeah.
And I do miss the days where I could just be like, today I'm just going to play this multiplayer game all day, and it will accomplish nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Still haven't played near.
Sure.
Because I don't have any work-related tasks involving it.
That just felt like you unleashing a burden, just like taking this weight off your shoulder. Still, I just haven't finished near.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we touched it.
I would say you could just not.
No, I have to.
I really like
Too
it.
much hype about it.
Just to stick
Yeah.
it to him?
Just to see the hype.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hyped.
I think it's a
I
great
It
video
has
game.
been extremely hyped to the point of like, you better fucking play it, Huber, or I'm coming to like get you.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey.
I'll be
anger.
interested to see what you think of it.
I am not
Me
coming
too.
at you with any sort of anger. It's just you like storytelling in games. This
Yes.
has a really This is not only has an interesting story, it has really interesting storytelling, and you like platinum games and platinum combat.
the stars align for the
Yeah.
game. Everything about it I like.
Boxes ticked.
Like, I look at it and I say, I like all those things.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Cool. Well, I hope we
yeah,
get you
I
on a
wanna
frame
hear
trap
what
and
you
you.
By the end of the year, I've 100% made it a mission to.
Cool.
And then we can
get
finally
there.
do that spoiler cast, or spoiler mode about it.
Someday. Someday.
Because I played it. You
Yeah,
played it.
I played it. Brad has
Brad
played it.
it. Kyle played it. He quit on it.
Yeah.
Kyle quit on it. Well,
He didn't understand that you didn't have to fish.
the spoiler modes are always so tricky
There's
because
fishing in it.
we were
Yeah,
I
but
love everything about this game.
like getting close to recording the Persona 5 spoiler cast, and then Huber was like, "Hey man, I'm 65 hours in," and so he's like, "Oh no, like let's wait, let's
Yeah,
get Huber
let's
in
wait.
here, let's make it a better conversation." And so it's hard finding the balance between waiting and like just making it as good as we can and actually just getting it out there.
Yeah.
So
we got to do a bunch of movie ones too.
We haven't nailed that, but
Bebe Dravier, Spider-Man.
I can be so gullible sometimes. I was just about to ask, what is Bébé de Rivière? What
It's
is
a
that?
cool, a little known French film by
French
Edgar.
New Wave.
And I was like, oh, that sounds like something cool they talk about on Reaction Shots. This hit movie show. Yeah.
Bebe Dravier.
Well, outside of hot French films, what have you been playing, Ian Hink?
Oh, I go first?
You're going first.
Boom. Hot seat.
Whoa. What did
We
I
just
tell
mix
you?
up this show
Middle
in
seat.
crazy
Mix it up.
ways. Yeah.
Pyre. I'll start with the quick ones and then move into the one I actually want to talk about for a longer time.
However you want to do
Don't
it.
play Layton Mystery Journey.
Oh, okay. So now we're talking about Layton Mystery Journey.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I realized Pyre would be longer.
All right.
This is my first Layton game, so and everyone loves them. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm really excited for some cool mysteries. I got a code before it came out, and then when it came out, it deleted my save, so I had to start over. So that sucked. And then the puzzles, so the mysteries, the overarching mysteries, you don't do anything. They just happen. It's a story. Whatever. Like, that's fine. Stories are fine. But the puzzles,
Well, it should be said that in the other Layton games,
you have to solve something, right?
you have to solve one big thing. It's not episodic the way Layton Mystery Journey is, where each
Okay.
episode is its own case. You're kind of solving one central thing.
But does it solve itself, or do you actually have to say, like, I think it's this guy?
Well, with Layton, it's kind of about puzzles, and so you solve
yeah.
a puzzle, you get the thing, and
Right.
then they piece it together.
So, about the puzzles.
Sure.
I was consistently annoyed because the wording of many of the puzzles was it's kind of specious, and like there are a couple of puzzles where logically 2 or more answers are viable and are correct, but it only wants the one that it wants.
Are you specifically talking about the puzzles where they're kind of a what do they call those puzzles? It's almost like a riddle, and you have to pick the right answer.
They're
but
they're like lateral thinking puzzles, which I
Right,
generally
that's it.
think
That's
are
what I'm
like
trying to
kind of
think of.
dumb, but like these are like I mean, I can't remember a specific example, but like this happened a couple of times where I was like there are these siblings or whatever, and I was like, okay, but like logically you could be this age, or this age, but they want this age, and I put in the other one, and I'm like, no, that works. You just don't want that answer.
I see.
And it was irritating because it was like I felt like smarter than the puzzles sometimes, where it's like in a puzzle game you expect to be like tricked, and so you read the things really carefully and you're like, okay, this makes sense. A quick anecdote where I was overthinking something in real life. When I came to LA and took the LA driver's test to get my California license, there's a question on the test that says, true or false, motorcyclists have the same responsibilities as automobile drivers. Something to that effect. But it was the same. The wording is true or false. It's the same. And I said false because in California they can legally lane split, which cars cannot do, so they have more responsibilities. Thus, not the same. Right?
Okay.
Clearly I was overthinking the California driver's test.
Yes.
Right? But like, you get into that situation all the time in this game where the wording is such that what they're looking for is like the simpler version of what is actually there. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're overthinking them, which you should be because they're riddles, you're going to get the wrong answer because you're like too smart. So it's like really annoying. Now, I'm not saying I'm like some smart guy or whatever, but like it's just I got continually irked by the puzzles, so I was feeling really annoyed.
How
playing this
far
game.
into the game did you get?
In my first playthrough, I got like halfway through the second case.
Okay.
So I did like, I don't know, 8 or 10 puzzles or more than that maybe. And some of them are like, and like, yeah, it's lateral thinking. So it's like one of the puzzles, spoiler if you don't want to be spoiled on this puzzle, but it was like, it's like this clock says 3:30. It'd be nice if it said midnight. Mm-hmm. How many times do you have to touch the clock to get it to say midnight? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, okay, there's a winder next to it. Right. So you only have to touch the winder. So
I went through this exact same thought process with this puzzle.
Right. And I'm like, okay, so 1, because you touch the winder and then you wind it. And then they're like, no, wrong. And I'm like, okay, so they're not considering the winder as part of the clock. That's fine. Right. So I say 0, because you can wind it with the winder, which is not part of the clock. Okay, fine, 0. But then the answer they explain it with afterwards is 0.
0, okay.
Because you just wait for it to be midnight.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that is just stupid.
Done.
And like pretty much every puzzle is like
Done.
that.
So you got farther than I did. I just got through the first chapter, and I agree those lateral thinking puzzles kind of got to me. I kind of went through the same process where they're talking about like the color of the sky in this circumstance, and I felt like I kind of sorted out the correct answer. But it's just frustrating when you can't talk to somebody about it. You can't explain where you're coming from, and then they give their answer, and it's like, well, that's technically correct, but what if you look at it from this way? It's just so rigid.
That sky one is, really stupid, because it's like any of those answers could be correct depending on how you're thinking of how they're wording it.
Right, and
but
they only have
want
so
black
much
because
space
it's
to
nighttime
explain
or whatever.
it.
Right, and it's like, and the hints are like stupid too. Like I did some hints on one of the puzzles, and every single hint I'd already figured out. I was like, yeah, I know all of this. I just don't know what you want from me, because your wording is so bad. Oh, man.
Outside of the lateral thinking puzzles, how did you feel about the quality of the puzzles? Was it really just those driving you crazy, or did you not really care for the other ones as well?
I mean, the other ones were just little mini games or like little things. So like generally, I was lukewarm on all the puzzles.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of one that I actually liked. I mean, the very first puzzle, you have to make a K, and like immediately I was like, okay, it's a negative space thing, because that's the only thing you could do with these triangles. But so I put them there, but they weren't like exactly perfect enough, so it didn't take it. And even in the thing, it's like, be very precise, and I was like, okay, I'm doing it, like there, and it was like literally like a pixel to the left, and it didn't take it.
Do you think some of that is because you're playing on a phone?
Maybe.
Okay.
Because like if it was a 3DS and they were like snapping or something, that would be. But like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked the stories. I liked the characterizations. I liked the voice acting and stuff. The anime cutscenes were really cool.
Yeah,
the character models.
Game.
Yeah, it's a very good looking game. The character models on non-main characters are definitely a little more simplistic. But I'm like, whatever. There's a lot of characters in this game. That makes sense. Yeah, and it's like it's a real bummer, because I was playing it and I was like, man, I really want to love this.
Yeah.
I really want to love this. It's so delightful.
I kind of went through the same thing, and I'm hesitant to be too condemning because I've only played through the first case. But I, too, really liked the characters and the vibe of it. I enjoyed them interacting and then doing little cute jokes to each other. But even the storytelling in that first case was kind of disappointing to me,
because you're kind of just like, what?
The way that it wrapped up, like it's an effective setup for a mystery, right? It's
and like
it's believable but kind of ridiculous. But the way that they resolve it just feels.
And it was told well enough that I like figured it out before they dropped the bomb. You know, it's like, okay, clearly this is what's happening, and then that turned out to be true. But then like, the resolution of it was so weird. It's like I'm like, wait, so are these guys in trouble? Are they not in trouble? Was any law actually broken? Like, what's actually happening here?
Not only was the twist, I felt like maybe trying to be a little bit too clever in not a convincing way. It didn't back up what it was doing very well. But the fallout from it, everybody was just kind of okay with everything, and there wasn't much of a climax. Yeah.
And so like that put a sour taste in my mouth too, because I was like, okay, so we're not dealing with anything that has any stakes. And like, even if it's cutesy, like, I mean, the next case deals with maybe a murder, but like, which is a lot heavier than a missing clock hand. But like, even if it's jokey, like I want it to have resonance within the world that you're telling the story in,
right? And that's talking about that. That's why I'm a little bit hesitant, because I don't know what the remaining cases look like, and maybe
yeah, I don't want to condemn the game
up.
out of hand, but
Right.
like I was very frustrated playing this game.
Sure. Hubert, what's your experience with Layton?
Finished the first one when it came out. Absolutely loved the franchise.
Nice.
When it first hit.
What did you like about it?
The vibe, the aesthetic looked really cool. I had a DS at the time, like when it first came out, so I didn't have too many DS games. So it, filled the void of like, oh, I have this new piece of hardware. Like I'm gonna grab one of these games. Got the first one, absolutely loved it. Something to just play with, like my girlfriend at the time and my mom, and like a game you can show to people that aren't necessarily into video games.
Right.
Then I got the second one and got like a little bit into it, but fell off and have never gone back to it, but always wanted to, always meant to. There was a time when I was like really actively going to try to go back into it, and then I looked and there were so many of them and new characters and new like trilogies and.
Sure.
I've heard the Phoenix Wright crossover one is really good.
Yeah, I reviewed that.
I think that was
one.
the time when I wanted to go back. I was
Yeah.
like, this
Yeah,
crossover,
yeah.
like, I want to go get back into this.
Because I've never
but-
played one of those either.
Right. Yeah, the crossover is really good. I actually found the central mystery of the crossover pretty good, and the way that those characters, like, to me, the best part of Phoenix Wright and the best part of Layton is those characters, and seeing them interact was pretty awesome for sure. It's cool.
My direct comparison to this game maybe isn't fair because in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be like the Zero Escape game. So I was like comparing it with Virtue's Last Reward, which is like really thoughtful and really deep and really dark, and the puzzles are thoughtful and generally pretty like logical.
Sure.
Which I prefer, I guess. And yeah, they're not the same.
Okay.
Kingdoms and Castles.
Kingdoms and Castles.
Really like this game. It's very cute. Pretty simple little sim town, medieval.
Love that.
Yeah, Vikings are constantly attacking. It's Vikings and dragons that are just constantly attacking you.
They're attacking you. So you're like, get out of here, you Vikings.
Yeah, they're just little like they're AI waves that show up every so often to like test your defenses, and like they escalate in a way where at first it was like one ship of Vikings, and like if the first couple of times the dragon came by, it didn't attack. I'm playing on like the middle difficulty, like normal, I guess whatever. And I was like, all right, I'm okay. So
It's
I
on
built
PC?
I built like a few little towers. I'm unsure if it's on Mac or Linux, but it might be. I got it through Steam. Cool. You can get it on Humble or GOG maybe also. But it has a cute little blocky aesthetic, and like you get plague doctors, and you can get like all this stuff, and there aren't like cheat codes or anything, so you're like kind of beholden to doing it the right way, So like I started out and like all my peasants were starving to death all the time, and I'm like, okay. So I like shut down the quarry so that people would actually make food, and I'm like, okay, and then it balances out, and you learn to grow your town. And now I have a city that I've got at least one of everything, so I'm like maxed out. But I started building my thing on an island, which I thought would be secure, but no, because the Vikings come on boats and dragons fly, so it's like they just come and like ogres will come with the Vikings, and they'll come and just like burn down all your buildings. Cool. Like I was building this whole new part of my town with a bunch of mansions and like wells and hospital and a church and libraries and everything they want. And an ogre came through and just literally destroyed all of it. Oh. And I was just like, no. So then I started like, upping my defenses a lot, because like you'll see like 7 Viking ships coming in, and you're just like, oh god.
How old is this game?
It just came out
dude.
It just came out like I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think June or July, whatever. But it's very cute, very fun, simple. So like.
So you keep saying that it's cute. What is the art style like?
It's got a kind of blocky, low poly kind of vibe to it. They're little little guys that go around, little meeple or whatever you want to call them, kind of going around. You can zoom way in and get like down on their level with them, and you'll see their little like the little plague doctors are really cool looking. They have little black hats and a little white snout, and little robes, and then they just kind of like trundle about. And like so I have a little island thing, and so I don't have walls. I just have a bunch of towers to defend everything. So the Vikings can just come right in and blow stuff up, basically. Like, they burn everything down.
Like
and then
they do.
Yeah. And then the little people will go to a well and, like, start spraying water on stuff to try to, like, put it out, It's pretty wonderful. And, but now I've got, like, this system of bridges going everywhere to, like, connect my islands together.
Yeah.
And it just gets really, really cool. It's I don't know. I really enjoy it. But I hope that they add more content to it. It's made by, I can't remember their names, but one of them worked on Abzu, I think.
Oh, cool.
And like one of them worked on something else that you've heard of.
Yeah.
Is it early access?
I think it's out.
Oh, okay.
But what my hope is that they add things to it
Yeah.
going forward, because I I really like it, and I think this kind of game is really good with
How did you
It sounds
expansion.
really intense, but like not too stressful.
Right, and especially there's a difficulty that's a little easier that I think Vikings and Dragons will still come, but they're like not a
as-
problem.
yeah.
And even in this middle difficulty, like they'll come and they'll destroy an entire half of my city, or like not a half, but like maybe a fifth, you know.
Yeah.
But I have things set up such that I have enough resources right now that I can basically just rebuild every time that happens.
Nice.
And I'm just slowly building walls out to try to keep them out, you know.
Take that, ogres.
I know. Yeah, I mean, definitely it was my first city. So, like, now, knowing how the game plays better, I would start on land and I would build walls as I went, you know?
Yeah.
Like, keep things sanctioned off and more like a castle. But, yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot. It's very fun.
I feel like with any game like that where you have to build something and then watch it come under some sort of attack, the true test of that being like a good game is when you make a bunch of mistakes, you get wiped out, and you're like, oh, okay, I clearly see how I can improve for next time,
Right.
and I want to do it again. And
Right.
it sounds like that's exactly where you are with this
Yeah,
game.
do
I'm
a
definitely like the
quick
next...
research.
Sure.
The next time I do a kingdom, I'm definitely I'll start it way differently. I want to be by trees. I want to be on land. I want to be here and there, and not like because I started on a very small landmass, and I
Okay.
very quickly outgrew myself.
Sure.
So yeah, but it's really cool.
How did you find out about this?
I honestly think I was just like clicking through Steam, and it recommended it, and I saw that it was new. And I was like, and it was $10 or something. It was like a little on sale, so I just picked it up.
Nice. You just took a chance on it.
Yeah, I just picked it up. I think I looked into it a little bit. I watched like the trailer, and it has some like simulation stuff where the trees will regrow and clouds are simulated and stuff, and it felt like a cool little world. And I love one of my favorite games, kind of sadly because the sequels have all been really, really bad. But I grew up playing a lot of Stronghold games.
Yeah.
And I just love them. And I've purchased every single one, and I just don't learn because 2 and 3 are really bad, and Crusader HD was not very, or Crusader 2 wasn't very good. But man, Stronghold 1 and Stronghold Crusader are just so good.
Cool.
And they've got HD versions that were also recently on sale, so I bought those again for like the 100th time. And so I'm always looking for another game like that that'll
Okay.
feel like that, where it's like you're building a castle.
And it sounds like this is definitely scratching that itch.
It scratches that itch in a simplistic way.
Nice.
It's definitely not as in-depth, but it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the big one?
Big one, Pyre.
Pyre.
I was waiting
I'm
for you to
so
come
jealous that you guys have played this game. I want to play it so bad.
That's why I
It's-
did research right before. I
back.
was
Yeah,
like, I was growing up.
It's pretty amazing. It is a weird game. Like, it's a visual novel.
They kind of make weird games.
Yeah, it's a visual novel meets like a Banner Saga style, like branching narrative path kind of deal, and then like a weird like magic basketball game.
All
and
right.
no game over screens.
Yeah.
Tell me
If
about
you
this
lose, it
magic.
keeps going.
Tell me about this magic basketball game.
Yeah, so it's called a right, and there are pyres on either side of the board, I guess, the map. And you're kind of competing in these rights to become unexiled, to get your freedom back. Everyone's been like kicked out of somewhere into this weird what is it called?
The downside.
The downside. I don't really know what that means or what. There's very mysterious stuff happening. The story is very intricate and it seems really mysterious. But it's 3v3, and you have various different kind of character classes. There's like a cur, which is basically a dog that's really fast, and basically what you have to do is get this orb into the enemy pyre, and you can throw it in, and then you won't disappear for a little while, or you can jump in with it, and then that character disappears for like a round or a little while, a little timed thing. And so the goal is to get the orb into the enemy pyre, and it has like 100 hit points, and each time if you throw it, it takes away a few. If you dive in, it takes away more, but you lose that character for a second. So it kind of balances it that way. And curs are little dogs. They're fast, but they don't do as much damage to the pyre.
Okay.
Demons are huge and really slow, and they do a lot of damage to the pyre. I don't know the name of the just normal.
Yeah, I forget the name of the normal humans.
Yeah. Just person, whatever. He has a name.
Hedwyn.
Headwind is the character. He's like normal. He's got a medium speed and does medium damage to the Pyre. And then there's a couple other little characters that do different, and they have different abilities and they can do different things. And you can like zap your aura at people to make them vanish and stuff. And it's very bizarre. And at first, the control scheme with the mouse is very weird and not good. And so then I switched to WASD and a mouse, and that was okay. But controller is the way to go. Yeah, like controller all the way. But yeah, it's
what causes the funkiness with the mouse and keyboard, and why did you prefer the controller?
The mouse was really weird because you had to like click on different people to change, and then like click where they wanted to go, and you can only control one person at a time, so it's really weird.
I see.
The controller is just because you can direct control them, and it just feels better. WASD is
and it sounds like switching between characters is easier on the controller as well.
Yeah, normally I don't switch that often, which I probably should, because I usually just try to get them in the Pyre and then go. Have you lost one yet? I haven't lost one. Okay, yeah. So I think they start you out pretty easy.
Some get pretty intense.
Yeah, some of them get pretty crazy. Like I've had a couple of close calls, but I've always come out ahead. And I just unlocked practice sessions. Are you past that?
Yeah.
Well,
I reviewed it, so I finished it.
Oh, you finished it. Okay, so I just got to the part where you unlock practice ones, and I did one. They're like player or character specific rights, I guess, that give them a little bonus gift. Cool. So I've done one of those.
Nice.
And I almost lost that one. I had like 5 hit points on my Pyre left, which is like real bad. But yeah, and the look and the feel and the music is so good.
Supergiant, some of the best art.
Oh my god. Yeah.
In the biz.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that kind of caught my interest. You mentioned that it's part visual novel. When somebody says something is part visual novel, they don't just mean characters are talking to each other. They mean characters, like, they only say this is kind of like a visual novel if they're talking to each other a lot.
Yeah, it's if you're not playing the rights, it is a visual novel.
Okay.
Except for there are a few times where you like move to a place, but you don't actually move your carriage. You're in this wagon. You click on a thing and then it moves itself in a kind of a funny animated little way. Through this beautiful, colorful world. It's amazing.
So beautiful.
My new laptop that I just got has a 4K screen.
Yeah.
Playing this game in 4K is bonkers.
Just pops.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But with the Pyre like flame.
Oh yeah,
moves.
It's a beautiful, beautiful game.
Hashtag must be nice.
I know, right?
I have a 4K TV too.
Oh yeah.
The visual novel stuff's really cool because like some words will be highlighted.
Yeah, I love it.
And you can highlight over the word and it'll give you some like lore about it.
It's
Nice.
so cool. I need to ape that.
And then
That's cool.
some parts too, you can choose what to say, and that'll have different effects on the party's perception, or like stat bonuses even if you say something different.
It's the little things.
Well, but it's like straight up visual novel. Like the character that you're talking to is a 2D cutout, and they're standing there.
Okay.
And like they occasionally animate, but otherwise they're just kind of sitting there breathing.
Supergiant is definitely known for the clever ways in which he uses narration. Is there any sort of narrator in Pyre?
There's a character called the Voice, or just Voice, which at first I didn't think was actually extant in the world, but it is. Like other characters have referred to the Voice.
Yeah.
And they kind of don't like him. They're kind of like that Joker up there, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, you guys know about him? Okay." I really like games that make you a part of the story. So like they have a reason to be talking to you. Also, a cool little tidbit that I liked was that the game assumes from the beginning that you're female, and it says like, it's like he's assuming that you're female. Do you want to correct him on this? And then if you don't, you're just a female.
Yeah.
Unless that's randomized, I don't know.
That might be randomized, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you start as male?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to do that. Just have it be random, and like he's assuming this. Is that okay? Yeah, I thought that was a cool way to do that. And it didn't like break the vibe really. Yeah, it's really cool, and like Supergiant oozes style, just always. Like Bastion and everything, and like Transistor kind of rubbed me the wrong way just because like the dynamic between the male sword character and the female character kind of just bothered me for some reason. But like that game is visually incredible.
Yeah. With both Bastion and Transistor, you are sort of unraveling this mystery and figuring out what's going on is kind of a big cause for moving forward. How is the storytelling here? Is that really the hook in the same way it was for those other two games, or?
I'm really enjoying it so far.
Okay. What specifically are you enjoying about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the mystery of it, the world building and the lore, like it is. I love it when you're dropped into a world that is a world already. You know, it's like a Blade Runner, William Gibson style kind of deal. It's not
exists.
cyberpunk really, but it's just like,
Yeah.
this exists. Here's how it is. We'll occasionally explain something to you if you really need to get it. But also, I think that's an elegant way for those highlight words.
Totally.
That's such an elegant way to do
Okay, so
that.
that's where you're getting a lot of the additional
Because, yeah.
context.
The very beginning of the game is like, yo, you're a reader. Like, you can read. Can you read this? And you're like, what? Like,
literacy
read?
is banned.
Yeah. So like, you highlight over it, and it's like, yo, books have been banned. Like, if people even know you can read, it's bad. Like,
Yeah.
So
It's cool. And like the highlighting over the words, it's like it's a video gamey thing where it like, you know, obviously it's a little bizarre, but the way that everything works and the way that books work and stuff, it actually kind of feels like it's part of this world too. And highlighting over them, it says sometimes in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, it'll say what it is, and then it has like Magic the Gathering like style flavor text under it too, like a quote or something.
Yeah.
About it. So it's just like you get three ways of world building. You get the story that they're telling, you get these highlight words that then explain themselves and have additional flavor text of like a quote of somebody you have no idea who it is. And I just think that's really cool. I like that a lot. But it is definitely a visual novel with a basketball game in it. Or soccer. I don't know. It's kind of both.
Football, soccer,
yeah, it's like every
basketball.
sport put together.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
because the
fun?
big
I
thing
don't
is
know.
you can only control one at a time. There's three of you, and when you pick up the orb, like your aura goes away.
Okay.
So that aura is the one that can like if they touch your aura, it like banishes them.
Yeah.
So it's like picking it up and it disappears. Then you're vulnerable. So like passing around helps with that. And
Can you switch instantaneously
Yeah.
at any time?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can
switch
pass.
and you can pass.
Okay.
And like I could see this game, I could see someone being like so good at this.
So, yeah,
and like
I'm really
just
excited.
destroying at
Yeah,
it.
I'm excited to play local because
Yeah.
the fast people are so good,
So fast.
so fast, and so good at zipping through and nailing it into the pyre.
Yeah.
But the balance is that like the really giant slow people have a huge aura. So like they'll win that trade-off every single time, like because of the giant aura. But it's like the fast people can zip around so much, and like
And you've got stamina, so like you have to
Yeah.
manage that, and you can jump. So like the coolest stuff is when you jump over a bad guy's aura into the pyre, and I think you even get a bonus for doing
you
that.
feel so badass.
But it's like you're like, oh my god, I'm so cool.
Sure. You were saying kind of that at least early on the matches you hadn't lost, but you reviewed the game, Huber, and you did some multiplayer.
Yeah.
How did those matches play out? Were they pretty intense? Were they lopsided?
Some of them are pretty intense, but again, like for reviews, I play on normal.
Yeah.
There are multiple difficulties.
Sure.
Normal's pretty easy, but like Bastion, and I'm pretty sure like Transistor, this isn't a spoiler, by the way, it's not. But
I mean, I've beaten Transistor.
no.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
Pyre.
there you can increase the difficulty and increase rewards later on. It'll be like, do you want to make it harder, but you get more stuff?
It's
Sure.
like Diablo.
Yeah. Like
Cool.
I'm pretty sure Transistor had that. I know Bastion did, where it's like, extra difficulty, but you get extra experience. So
Yeah.
cool with that.
Roughly how long did it take you to get through Pyre?
It's less than 10 hours, but
Less
a
than
little longer than I thought. I thought
It's
it'd
their
be,
longest game.
Yeah,
that
I thought
they've
it'd be.
claimed.
I thought it'd be really quick, but I feel like it's around 8.
And apparently it has a lot of replayability because everything you do changes the storyline.
Oh,
This game stresses me out because
I'm curious how it changes the story.
I wonder.
Well,
I don't
because
know.
losing will.
change things. And you
Change
said you never
things.
I
lost.
see.
I
Interesting.
never lost.
Nice.
Whoa.
But at the same time, I was smart with those like things to get extra experience. Like for some more stressful fights, I was like, I'm not gonna put any of these on.
Right.
Like I feel a challenge coming.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I feel a harder fight coming. Like
Right.
I'm not even gonna put any of these on. So I was really smart with that because I
That's good.
wanted to win.
Because but like apparently you can't. There's no game over, like he said. So like if you lose a round, it
The
just
narrative
changes the
goes.
story.
Yeah, that's
So it's like
really
you've
cool.
lost that.
Yeah.
And like I've seen a few parts of this too because I was saying this game stresses me out because you only have 3 people and very quickly you get more than 3 teammates. So you have to choose who to take on these rights. And like characters will like throw shade at you for not picking them, especially Jodariel. Jodariel, the big, she's amazing. She's a big demon, but
Yes.
she's so slow, and I like fast people, so
Yeah.
like I don't pick her usually.
Yeah.
And the first time she was like angry with me for not picking her.
Yeah.
But because we won, she was like, but it turned out all right, so it's okay.
That is really
But I'm
cool.
just like, I know that if I had lost, she would
Yeah.
be pissed at me forever.
Yeah, should have picked me.
I know, yeah. She'd probably never let me forget it. Yeah.
There's
This
like
game is
downtime
crazy.
in between stuff in the wagon, and like sometimes people will be in the wagon and you can talk to them.
Yeah.
There's little things in the wagon that you can interact with.
Yeah, just the bits of characterization that they put in. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I want more games to get upset with me when I don't
Yeah.
pick certain people. I want
Yeah.
that choice to be mine.
And then there's that like meta game stuff where it's like, you know, you can level people up and they get different skills, and there's like a shop you can buy things.
But you
and-
can't get all the skills for a character, right?
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
only
only-
get 4.
Yeah, you can only get 4 and equip 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you get all of them and then
I don't think
equip
so.
4, or can you
No.
only get 4?
You can only get 4.
Well, okay, that's
Yeah,
stressful.
yeah.
Because there are
you-
8 to choose from.
Because you can only level up 4 times.
Right. Okay.
You start at 1 and 5 is the max for
All
every
right,
character.
all right.
So, Huber, you've played through Bastion, Transistor, and
Yeah.
Pyre now, right?
Yep.
If you had to, how would you kind of stack them on top of each other? I know they're all so different.
I love Bastion so much, so Bastion still might be my favorite, but Pyre definitely a very, very close second.
Okay.
And then Transistor a little below that. And I love Transistor too.
Yeah.
You know, I adore all of their games.
Cool.
This is a studio like I follow directors, I follow studios, you know,
Yeah.
I love Ninja Theory and Don't Nod. It's like when they do something, I'm watching and waiting and paying attention. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Pyre's my favorite for sure so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
By a pretty wide margin.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I played Bastion a little. I didn't beat it, but I've beaten Transistor.
It's that
Yeah.
thing of like Pyre might actually be their best game, but Bastion was maybe my favorite. So it's,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
again, I haven't played Bastion since it came out.
Yeah.
I'm eager to kind of go back and play through it again. I loved that style of play and the
Yeah.
like Ron Perlman narration, even though
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
Ron
yeah.
Perlman, but it sounds like him so much.
How cool is it though that I mean, I haven't played Pyre yet. I so desperately want to because I love Transistor and I love Bastion. But you know, this small independent studio making these
know.
absolutely stunning games, and they're all not just like kind of different from each other,
Yeah.
dramatically different in terms of
Similar like tone and
Similar
aesthetic.
yeah, the
style,
aesthetic,
but
the
mechanically
narration.
just
Yeah.
very, very, very.
And it was
separate.
cool to see them branch out and do a party rather than a
Yeah.
singular character.
Yeah.
That was such a big thing for me. Was
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're your character. You're
Yeah.
a character, and then these people are other people that you are interacting with.
Yeah.
So it's definitely very interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that studio just strikes me as a bunch of incredibly talented people that have a lot of good ideas.
And the music, dude.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
And
I'm glad you
like
brought
the
that up.
music. I mean, the music. I am very familiar with the old GarageBand loops, and like
Yeah.
some of them were in Bastion for sure, which I found very funny. Not throwing shade. It's just they were there. And they're royalty free, so
What
like
is-
why not?
What do you mean for those who don't understand that?
There was an old. I mean, I think it's still around. GarageBand was a program on Mac
Yeah.
that you could make music with. And in college, I used to make music all the time. My friend has a band in Chicago called Terrible Spaceship, and like he used GarageBand to compose like early versions of his songs, and they play along with like old movies and stuff. They're amazing. If you're in the Chicago area, go see a Terrible Spaceship show. They're awesome. But so I'm like really familiar with all GarageBand loops, and like for a while they were popping up all around. Like they would pop up in like MythBusters a lot. They would pop up in the Bastion soundtrack. They would pop up in other stuff because they're royalty free, so you could use them. So it's just really funny that I noticed that, and like the Bastion soundtrack was awesome, and the Pyre soundtrack is just incredible and like very well orchestrated, and it seems like they're recording real instruments. I don't know that for sure, but it sounds like it to me. I mean, there's a lot of synth and stuff too. But oh my god, it's so good. And like the way it dynamically works in the game is so good. Like you'll finish a write, and timed to the end of the write, the narration and the music all kind of just land at the same time, and it's so good. And it's just whatever they're doing to time that out is so well executed. I mean, I guess you just wait for the next measure and then hit it, but like, oh man, it's so effective. Yeah, I just drive around listening to the soundtrack. Although I only listen to the front part because I don't want to hear songs that I haven't gotten to in the game yet. So yeah.
I hope I have a chance to play it soon.
Oh
You
man. Yeah.
Huber,
Yo.
what have you been playing?
Only one game. If I'm not reviewing something, I'm playing Persona 5.
Yeah. It's happening.
It's happening.
You're getting close to the end.
I'm super far.
Yeah.
I'm close to 70 hours now.
Okay.
Very, very far. Mm-hmm. I don't want this game to end.
Why don't you want it to end?
Because it's so good.
Okay.
It keeps getting better and better.
Huber, you played all of Persona 4.
Yes.
You love Persona 4.
Yes.
You're getting close to the end of Persona 5.
I don't want it to end.
And you don't want it to end.
No.
What's different? What makes this a good one?
Well, I mean, Persona 4, I played it on a handheld, you know, and it was like an older game by the time it came out on Vita. So like I know this is cross-gen. It's still like on PS3. It's not the best looking game of all time, but
you're feeling the bump.
feeling the bump for sure. And oh my god, the combat and the dungeons, first of all, are vastly superior to Persona 4. Like Persona 4 dungeons were a couple hallways, you know, really just hard angles, like 90-degree angles.
Right.
In Persona 4, and now
They didn't feel like unique places. It felt like the same thing rearranged with a different coat of paint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now these feel so unique. Like I'm in it's not maybe a spoiler. I don't know. Can I say the theme of the one I'm on right now? Just the theme of it?
I think you can. I just want to. There are some people that are very sensitive, and I totally understand.
Yeah.
If you are still working through Persona 5 or you intend to play it at some point in the future, we're going to.
I'm going to avoid spoilers as much as possible.
Yeah, we're not
Raise
going
my
to do
hands.
major story spoilers.
Yeah.
But we are going to be talking about the game and some
Yeah.
aesthetic things and gameplay things and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So light spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm at the casino.
Okay.
And it's just so much different than the other ones, like the whole gambling mechanic and like trying to do that and just the layout.
Right. Yeah. It's you're like jumping across things.
Yeah.
You're climbing. You're going in vents and all this stuff. And
There was like the maze in the dark was so cool. Just little different mechanics to switch it up and make each dungeon feel like their own thing.
Yeah. Each of these dungeons, there's kind of a build up the dungeon itself and then kind of a resolution. Do you feel like all of them are a good length? Did any of them drag for you at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
This game's perfect.
No.
I'm obsessed, dude. I don't want it to end. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
I keep having like visions and dreams of like when this game ends, like I'm gonna feel empty because it's over and I won't be able to play it anymore. Like a week will go by when I'm doing something else and I won't be able to play it. But just knowing that it's there, like existing, and I'm still in it, and I get to play it is like comforting, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like so attached now. I'm just knee deep in this game. Also, the exploration I really like of just the day to day. Like again, Persona 4 kind of felt restrictive with the like being able to go to different places, and just everything feels smoother. Like, you know, hanging out with someone or going to Shinjuku or Akihabara or, you know, just there's so many locations and I feel like I'm more free to explore and hang out with different people.
So do you feel like because it's a bigger scope, I mean, you're going from this small town to this big city in Persona 5, that what you're exploring is meaningful? How do you feel about the confidants? Do you feel like those storylines are interesting in the same way that they were to you in Persona 4?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any in particular that you like?
Sojiro, obviously.
Okay. Who's Sojiro?
Your caretaker. So you, at the very beginning of the game, you have like a what the hell is the word I'm looking for? An altercation, I guess.
Oh.
Like a.
Oh yeah.
Like a not
You have
political.
a legal
Legal. Legal problems, and you basically get sent off to live with Sojiro, who knew your parents. So you're kind of staying with him, and you know, at first he's kind of cold. He's like, "Yo, you better not cause me any problems."
Yeah.
Like.
A real grump.
Grump, and over time, obviously, you know, you get closer, and some other things happen kind of in between that make him even more interesting. That are, Again, I want to avoid.
But you're invested.
Spoilers,
You were talking about Persona 5, and you brought up how different the dungeons were, but you also mentioned the combat.
Yeah.
And you were really enjoying that.
There's
as well.
so much going on with that combat.
Okay.
The guns are a really cool mechanic. critical strikes, like your team all of a sudden just coming in and doing a critical strike. The baton pass. Was the baton pass in Persona 4?
No.
Love the baton pass. And just... Yeah, there's so many more layers to combat, I feel like, than the simple, attack or Persona magic.
Yeah.
There's so many more layers on top.
Definitely. I mean, fundamentally, it's still the same. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to target enemy weaknesses, knock
Yeah.
them all down, do an all-out attack. I mean, that's still a good thing to do. But, yeah, you just have so many more options,
Yeah.
As you're describing with these new mechanics.
And Ryuji, like, one of my favorite video game characters of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I like him way more than I liked Yusuke. I loved Yusuke, but Ryuji, like, really feels like a best friend. That I'm so attached to him. And, it still has that familiarity with, like, the school trips and hanging out, but... just the story, I'm so much more into the story of, it's kind of like Death Note vibes of like people mysteriously dying and investigating and heists, like, it's playing on things I love so much.
Okay.
So like, not only are you just pulling heists, but you're pulling heists to like change people for good, and it's just touching on all these themes, and it's like I get so emotionally invested into each dungeon because each dungeon is a different theme and a different problem that plagues society. Like, this game is speaking, it's saying a lot for society as a whole, but it also captures the one-on-one, like, intimate connection between people. It's just unbelievable.
Nice.
Like the writing.
I liked what you said about the creator of this game. Someone was like, hey, yo, like, aren't video games supposed to be kind of escapist? Like, this is so real. It's like super intense. And then he was like, I mean, what better escape is there than to defeat problems in a game that you have no control over in real life? Like, you can't change the hearts of evil people in real life.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying this.
You told me about this. Yeah,
Did
it was
I?
like the quote of the creator.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I was like,
I don't
that's a
remember
really
this.
salient point.
Sure. Yeah.
And I thought I wouldn't like it, but I love the fact that you're being interrogated because I know at a point it's going to sink. Like, I'm getting so close to the moment when that syncs up and then I will be in present day. Like, that payoff, I'm waiting for that. Like, sometimes I don't really like when it's like, yo, this is going to happen, but 3 weeks earlier. It's like, okay, well, now I'm kind of just like going through to get there.
Checked out a little.
But like each time you meet a new persona and then it goes to the interrogation and it's like, yo, you obviously had someone who was good at speaking. You clearly were like, someone was pulling the strings, blah, blah, blah. It's like the way that all syncs up and I'm getting closer to that is so cool. There's such a mystery going on that I still am like 70 hours into this game and I don't know you know what I'm talking about. There's like there's a mystery happening and I don't know yet how that's going to factor in.
So it sounds to me like
it's just consistently engaging on
lot of-
so many levels.
a lot of your favorite parts are all the ways in which it is different or evolves things that you saw in Persona 4.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Mementos? Because I would argue that is the most like conventional part of, or one of the most conventional parts.
It is. It kind of feels like an obligation doing those parts.
And sorry, just to explain it real quick for those who don't know. So we were talking before about how you had these very simplified layouts for dungeons in past games, and that's true here, where you're going into this randomized, like procedurally generated, like kind of connected rectangle sort of dungeon. Yeah, that kind of vibe. And this is where you do a lot of the side quests.
Yeah,
it's got some hills in it.
It feels.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but yeah.
Sometimes it feels like a chore going through. I don't really like the music in the Mementos either. The music's so unbelievable in this entire game. It's like my favorite soundtrack of the year so far. The Mementos, do 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 do. It just like grains on me. Like, I get annoyed just like immediately coming and hearing that do do do. I'm like, oh my god. But they find ways to make it interesting because of the targets. Especially when targets are tied to social links. That is really cool. There's a couple really good payoffs with, the way those sync up.
Yeah, those little micro stories.
Yes.
one thing that got on my nerves with Mementos, and it's a very minor thing, little nitpicky thing, but that incidental dialogue that you get as you're traveling through, where it's like, oh, the bumps are getting annoying. Like, they just keep saying the same things over and over.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
that
try
gets a
to
little
just
aggravating.
I try to just go through as fast as I can. And I try to group up. I usually go in when I have 3 targets or so, do it all at once. I'm not even getting loot anymore. You know, it's nice when I have the ambush and you can just like immediately kill them and take the persona, that move. I try to just go through as fast as I can so I'm not there too long, and I do it in one fell swoop. So,
cool.
but yeah.
But you love it.
I love it so much.
You don't want it to end.
I love it so much.
You
talk about like pace a lot, Ben.
I do talk about pace a lot.
Yeah, and I think Persona has like one of the best paces of a video game I've ever played, because it's
Really?
like when I'm like, every time I'm just about at the wall with something, when maybe I could get bored of it, it moves to combat. You know, it's like, all right, dungeon time, and it's like so much combat, fighting, going through. Finally, like, maybe I'm about to be like, all right, like, I'm ready to go out with people and hang out and go on the town. It's like, all right, we're good. We're done with the combat. Like, then we go back to the day-to-day, and it's like, all right, so much day-to-day. And it's like, man, I could really go for some combat, and I want to fight things. And it's like, all right, boom, back into another dungeon, time to fight.
Do you think a lot of that pacing that you're enjoying so much is the flexibility where you, like, let's say you just want to get a dungeon with immediately and then spend the rest of those days hanging out? Is it because you can kind of toy around with that a little bit that you're enjoying it so much?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I love the way SP is balanced. That's kind of your restrictor of like getting through these dungeons. It's like, oh, I'm out of SP. Like,
SP.
It's so dangerous to press on. Like, maybe I
get
should
some
stop.
coffee.
Yeah.
Ian,
Hey.
you played some of Persona 5. How far did you get?
I hadn't started the second palace.
Okay.
So, like, 500 hours?
Sure. So only 50,000 more to go.
Yeah.
Why'd you stop?
Here's the deal. I was thinking about this when he was talking about pacing. I was thinking about this a little earlier, too. I put, I don't know, realistically, 15 hours, 10, 12 hours into this game, and I loved it. I loved every part of it. I could just feel the passage of time. I could feel my life going away from me as I played this.
Sure,
Because it is another life.
Which is very, because it is another life. And I get so, I mean, I talk about getting stressed out in Pyre about like having to choose party members. I get so involved and stressed out about these relationships that it almost isn't positive for me, because it's just like I don't want to mess up this guy's life. Like, I don't want to screw up my life. I want people to like me. It's like too intense. But it's funny because I was thinking about this too. Like, I have like 400 hours into Dark Souls and like 300 into Bloodborne and like 160 into Zelda, and then 15 hours of this felt longer than 130 or whatever hours of Zelda. And I just...
It's those human relations. It's intense.
And I wonder, just because, like, I think for me, the games that I can jump into without noticing the passage of time are the ones where I'm constantly solving problems, using skills that I have earned in the game, just like more gameplay like stuff, constant.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the biggest difference is in both of those examples where you just sunk in so much time. You're doing very little stopping and talking.
And I think that for me, while I enjoy and love these characters and these stories and stuff, I just feel it. I feel it as time passing more readily. The worst example of this was Stardew Valley, which I thought was delightful to a point, but I could just feel my time being like wasted, I guess. To put it bluntly, and I just couldn't handle it anymore, so I stopped. You know, which I just think it's very interesting to me, like that I could just play Bloodborne forever. And Stardew Valley made me want to pull my eyes out after like 5 or 6 hours, because I was just like, oh my god, I should be doing other things. I'm wasting my time. I should be writing something or cutting something or making a music.
I know I'm so obsessed with this game because I have not felt that. Like, I'll be playing a game I love, you know, the nature of this job. It's like I'll be playing something I love and I'll still be thinking about, shit, you know, I could be watching Twin Peaks right now. Like, still gotta watch that, or
you can skip it.
Still gotta play this other game. Gotta play Nier. Gotta play this. Gotta play that.
Yeah.
Again,
It's something...
I'm 70 hours in this game. I don't want it to end, and I have mentally blocked out every other video game, show, and movie that there is, because I'm so attached to these characters and so in love with just the day-to-day in Persona.
Yeah.
That coffee shop, like waking up, talking to Sojiro, like see you later, going out for the day, like going to school, and the insane amount of dopamine. I don't know how Jones is not obsessed with this video game because Persona 5, constant earning.
Steady drip.
Earning cash, earning XP, earning social links, earning social skills, leveling up constantly,
Getting
earning
new
items,
personas,
getting cash.
using those personas.
You're constantly earning and getting something at all times.
But it's also like a constant, not grind in the video game sense, but like grind of like day-to-day like work.
Yeah.
You have to like work and live this game. And that's intense.
It is so intense. It is so intense.
I cherish the moments when I can just get completely consumed by something because I agree with Ian. A lot of times, even when I'm playing games now, it's hard to shut your mind off.
Yep.
And you have that moment. I think it's because when you just are doing things constantly, when you actually have that moment to sit and think and enjoy something, that's when you create the space in your brain for all of those other things to flood in. And I need to find a better way of focusing.
I think why Persona 5 nails it is because, like you said earlier, the micro stories. It's like you have this giant story.
Right.
Not only
but you're
are
getting
you
payoffs and other things.
you're getting
too.
beginning, middle, and end to so many stories that are so rewarding and meaningful. It's like you're constantly closing out stories while getting closer to a bigger story.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a beautiful game.
I love it to death.
It warms
I
my
wanna
heart
play
with
it,
how
I wanna
much
finish it someday.
passion that you're speaking about it with. Like,
I love it.
because
Every day, I'm like, will I be able to play it today? I hope so. Like, I feel like a kid again. Like, I just want to go home and play Persona all the time.
Yeah, because before you played it, I think you kind of had the mentality of, man, when I can get to this, I will really enjoy it.
I was, like, so scared. I was like, oh, my God, I have so many games. That thing's 100 hours. And, like, you and Brad blazed through the game. I'm like, all right, well, I missed the boat, I guess. I'm already behind. But then enough time had passed from the zeitgeist as to where I could just enjoy it without the noise. I was like, all right, everyone's finished it, sure. Doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to go at my own pace, do my own thing.
You've crossed the bridge, and now is just washing over you.
Exactly.
You're bathing in
bathing in Persona 5.
Outside of Persona 5, what has been occupying your time?
Movies. I am so caught up with movies. I've seen...
I'm so behind.
I saw Atomic Blonde. I finally saw Baby Driver. I just saw Dunkirk in the IMAX. But a lot of those I don't want to spoil. I saw War for the Planet of the Apes. I'm obsessed with that. Please see Planet of the Apes. I'm begging you. But on my hands and knees. But what we're talking about today is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. Nowhere near my favorite movie that I just mentioned. But the reason I want to bring it up, I'm glad you're here today.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yes, I'm not going to spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it. The reason I bring it up is because this movie is fascinating on so many levels. This is a fascinating movie and a fascinating watch. A lot of good, a lot of bad. But not only is it fascinating what's on screen, but the behind the scenes. So a little behind the scenes. It's from Luc Besson. He did most recently Lucy. Which has grown over time. I still have not seen that one.
Oh, Lucy, just really fast, is a very bizarre movie.
Yeah.
It's basically a one-act structure with no conflict because the character is gaining sentience. It's based on that weird false pretext of we only use 10% of our brains.
Yeah.
So, like, she gets up to 100, you know? And it's just so weird because it doesn't have a traditional structure. It's just a straight line.
I need to see it.
It's a very weird movie.
But most notably, he did The Professional.
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. And La Femme Nikita. Did he do Professional?
Yeah.
I know he did La Femme Nikita.
Yeah, I think he did.
So, anyway, really cool filmmaker. Fifth Element, one of the
masterpiece.
Greats. One of the greats. So, he had been wanting to make this movie. It's based on a comic book. He had been wanting to make it for a very long time. And he saw Avatar, and he's like, okay, I can do it now. I can make this movie because of Avatar, because of the tech.
I see.
This movie is gorgeous. The fascinating thing is, this is now the highest budget independent movie ever made.
How much?
They don't have the exact number. They say between 175 and 200 million dollar independent movie.
Which is funny because I think the previous record holder, at least it held that record for a long time, was Fifth Element.
There it is.
So like that's just Luc Besson's like thing.
Yeah. So he like crowdsourced this. He produced a lot of it with his own money. This movie is failing, and it's so sad when a person is following their dreams, they're going for their passion, like this is his passion movie, he put up his own money, like it's such a risk, and it is not gonna make its money back. It's not doing well. And you know, I've seen a lot of comparisons to like a Jupiter Ascending or a John Carter. I enjoyed Jupiter Ascending. The difference in reviews too, like this movie I think is like at a 50 something, so it's not even a complete train wreck of a movie. Like Jupiter Ascending had like a 10 or something, or a 15.
Yeah.
Like critics are kind of divided, but like even the people that say it's bad are like state the obvious. We're like, dude, the script, the two lead characters.
Yeah, I've heard they're just terrible.
They're so bad. There's some truly terrible dialogue, and there's no chemistry between the two.
I mean, Cara Delevingne, mostly basing this on Suicide Squad, which is just a train wreck.
Yeah.
You know, but like, she just is not a great actor.
Yeah, but her character in this is cool. Like, she's the badass, you know?
Oh, yeah.
She's the, like, we gotta get this done, let's go. Like, she's the rough and tough, and he's kind of like, hey, like, we can get through this. You know, kind of like a little more whimsical, but he's still a badass, too. Like, their archetypes are cool. But again, the dialogue, the writing is just no.
Did Luke write it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Written and directed.
Okay, so what about it? The writing is bringing it down so much.
So, like, on a surface level, just very stilted dialogue of, like, really weird, cheesy jokes.
Okay.
But then, like, a deeper level, too, of, like, you haven't really, like, built up this world and these kind of characters, and, like, the whole motivation of this thing is like really one note and basic and weird. Like, maybe it was just trying to do too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this could have been 2 movies instead of 1, because it's like over 2 hours. Like, it's kind of a long.
Yeah, it's like 2:20 or.
Yeah, it's a pretty long movie. Like, maybe it could have been 2 movies and better for that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they build and. So, but again, it's fascinating on so many levels because of the behind the scenes, because of the imagery. Like,
I've heard it's amazing.
It's
like
phenomenal visually, and it was fun the whole way through. I was never angry. You know, some of the bad dialogue I laughed at, which is always fun. Like, I saw it with a buddy.
Yeah.
And there was one line that, like, I'm not gonna give it away, but there was one little segment with like a really cheesy line with like, we're gonna be saying that for the next 5 years because it was so bad, so ridiculous, but so funny too.
So it absolutely sounds like one of those movies where in the moment you're having a great time, and then it just gets worse the more that you think about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Total popcorn summer movie.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a bummer because you think of, again, this man following his passion,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and it not resonating with audiences and not paying off.
But I think if you're somebody like him, right, who has made films that have been hugely successful, hugely influential, talked about for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I think when you reach a certain point, when you're a creative, especially when you're a very ambitious one,
Yeah.
you're okay with failing. I think you
Yeah.
just want to try it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't, if you get caught up on how it's going to review or how it's going to perform, then what's the point of even doing it? Because it sounds like to me what you're saying is that this movie maybe was not a success, but at least it feels like he went after exactly what he wanted to go after.
And I bring up like Jupiter Ascending and stuff, and the fact that I liked those movies, and I really think it boils down to science fiction. Like, my God, some of the technology and just the world, like Kyle always says, like Mass Effect and stuff, I'm going on a space adventure. Like,
that's a great point.
It's so cool. Like, I sit in this movie and I go to space and I go to the future and I see all these like weird technological weapons and items and different alien races, and that is so fascinating to see and watch and enjoyable. It's just a good time at the movies.
Not that fantasy isn't difficult to write or create, but you think about fantasy and it's like a lot of it, swords existed. That was a real thing. Kingdoms existed. That was a real thing. And then kind of the more fantastical elements, magic has never existed. Magic is not real. Dragons aren't real. I know. I'm upsetting myself.
Magic is real.
You think about science fiction, all of it has to like come from a believable point.
Yeah.
And like the more crazy you get with it, the more you have to justify it because it's based so much on technology, which is rapidly advancing in our own world. Yeah, I don't envy anyone of any genre. Making a world and making it believable is a superhuman feat.
Yes.
It's so tough to do.
It made me insanely hyped now for Avatar 2. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because there is an alien race that looks like the Na'vi. And no offense to Luc Besson at all. I love him as a filmmaker. But like James Cameron pushes technological boundaries. That is his thing. He is a futurist. He is like 10 years ahead of tech. He'll make a movie, and for the next 5 years, people will be playing catch-up.
Right.
Like, and this was an indie movie. Like, seeing the effects and the tech in this movie, I can't even imagine what in the hell James Cameron is up to with the Avatar movies. Like, it's gonna blow me away. That this movie was like, wow, this looks really good. Like, whoa.
I would love for you to have a sit-down conversation with James Cameron.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, so out of my element. Are you kidding? That man is a freaking genius. He'd be like, I couldn't even hold a conversation with him. I'd be like, I like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
I like your movies.
The thing.
I want him to tell you
Aliens.
I want him to tell
The
you
Abyss.
that he's seen it, and then you go, What have you seen? And he just goes, I've seen it.
I've seen it. What is it?
Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I've seen it all.
Any interest in Valerian?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna see the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I hope to see it before it leaves theaters.
Do you and
definite,
Huber have differing opinions on Jupiter Ascending?
I saw the first 30 minutes of it. To be fair, I started it at like 11 p.m. And then I was just like, nah.
Huge disclaimer for Jupiter Ascending.
Theater experience.
You saw it with Dawn.
Saw it in the IMAX, flanked on my left by Don Casanova and on my right by Kyle Bossman.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Huge disclaimer.
that's like why I love the movie Oblivion, because I saw it with my dad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember the movie, and I hear it's terrible. But I was just like blissed out. I was like, yeah, I've seen a movie with my dad.
Totally.
This is great.
Yeah, and I saw Valerian with a friend who I don't get to see that often.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Growing up, did you guys ever have that? Now that I think about it, now that you're including other human beings into how you view movies, did you ever have that friend growing up that, like, regardless of the movie you saw, they would just shit on it?
Oh yeah.
yes.
Or they would, like, shit on it forever and then spend, like, 5 minutes being like, but this thing was pretty good. Almost as
Yeah.
like,
I have a friend
God. Why
extremely
do people
similar
do
to
that?
me that likes every single movie no matter what. But the problem is he never goes to the movies because he can't afford it.
oh.
But it's like every time I'm able to see a movie with him, it's the best of all time because he and I always see eye to eye on like, well, it was bad, but we loved this.
Yeah,
you know, so we like
right.
latch on to the parts of it we love, and we always end up having a good time.
I saw a history of violence with a guy in college, and like the whole time he was like visibly hating it. He was just like he was just like, ugh, what? And like the whole time I was like, I'm kind of, and then like I had to go in my head. I'm like, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is a very bizarre movie, but it's clearly a stylistic choice that everyone's acting and talking this way. Like, I'm not hating this. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? He's hating this clearly.
Yeah.
You start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
And then like that was definitely one of those situations where I like looked into it. I was like, do other people hate this movie? Am I insane? And then like the reviews were like good, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm okay. Then.
Cronenberg.
Yeah, things are. I mean, like, yeah, Cronenberg
That's
makes
why
like
everybody
bizarre,
goes to
stylish.
reviews.
Yeah,
To
am I
justify their own
insane?
opinions. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
but yeah, definitely.
If you have time to kill and you don't want something too stressful or, you know, because again, I recommend like Apes,
Yeah.
but that's going to make you feel things. It's really heavy. It's going to drain your day away. It is going to affect you. You come out of Valerian, you're like, yeah, it's fun. So if you're in the mood for something like that, check it out.
I love the
Low
way
stakes.
the things you consume either charge you up to 100 or drain you down to 0. I feel like almost nothing leaves you in between, and that's great. I also have some other news for you, Huber. When you were talking about Persona 5,
Yes.
you said the forbidden word.
Uh-oh.
Do you have a guess as to what that word was?
Meaningful.
No? It was ambush.
Oh.
We've been ambushed.
The way that we're going to do Caught in a Frame Trap from here on out, 2 things I want to bring up. Before it was kind of like an interruption, we're going to stop whatever we're doing to include this little game that we do. Instead of doing that, I kind of want to find a natural stopping point. So you talked about the things that you were going to talk about on Frame Trap, and we haven't moved to me yet, and so we're just going to find this space. So even though you activated it, it doesn't go into effect until we find that appropriate avenue. The other thing...
It's like a polite trap card.
It's like, it's a polite. It's like, hey, you're in this alternate dimension, but we'll give you some time.
Finish talking about Valerian.
Yeah,
and then
finish talking about Valerian, yeah. The other exciting thing about Caught in a Frame Trap, and this is going to be true going forward, it's going to be sponsored by patrons. We have a new tier on Patreon, a $250 tier, where you get to sponsor Caught in a Frame Trap. And so today's Caught in a Frame Trap is brought to us by our very first sponsors on the show, Argos of War. Argos of War is a first-person World War II experience that redefines the survival genre. Launching with an unrelenting 6-kilometer environment and featuring an innovative multinational warfare system, foraging, hunting, salvaging, bunker building, NPC and resource management, and a deeply customizable job system, your strategic and survival prowess will empower you and your brothers in arms to battle toward multiple paths of victory.
That sounds sick.
Yeah.
Argos of War is more than just another survival game. It's a love letter to World War II and survival fans alike. Follow the development of the project at Argos of War for daily updates.
Is it Our Ghost?
Yeah, so to clarify, that is Argos of War.
O-U-R space G-H-O-S-T.
S. Argos of War.
Okay. Because I thought you were saying like Argust.
The Twitter handle given to me was Arghost singular of War.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know nothing about that, but it actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not just saying that.
Cool mashup. World War II survival.
Yeah.
Down with that. Bunker building.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Very ambitious, too. I like that. Our second sponsor is Adam Barker. Adam Barker is a freelance illustrator available for commissions. Do you have a character you play in your role-playing format of choice that you'd love to have painted? Or maybe you have characters that you want designed and painted for a personal project? Then don't hesitate to send me an email at adamrobertbarker@gmail.com so we can get the ball rolling for your artwork.
Sick.
You can check out Adam's previous artwork at adambarker.artstation.com. And in fact, right now, right this very second, I'm going to show you some samples on screen of Adam's artwork. And you can check it out for yourself. There will also be, sorry, real quick, there will also be a link to his Instagram in the description of this video.
I have a logistical question.
Yeah.
So they're sponsoring the Frame Trap.
They're sponsoring the Frame Trap.
What if the forbidden word does not proc?
It's a scary thought. It is. It's a scary thought.
It's a risk we have to take.
Okay.
It is a risk that we have to take. But the thing about this show is it's 10 hours long.
Yeah.
And so whatever word I pick...
The chances are good.
The chances are good.
Yes.
We've been rolling high.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's scary.
Cross the bridge when we come to it.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. Don't worry about it. But for today's Caught in the Frame Trap, what I like to do is I like to do a very short quiz. Before we've had which video game character said this line, or which year was this made, I believe was one that we did. Today, where was that game developed? Ooh. Which country?
When we get the answer, do we blurt it out or do we like raise our hand?
We knock. Just kidding.
My question
the knocking will probably be bad.
My question is Huber going to blurt this out or do I get a shot?
So the way that we're going to do it is whoever says it first, but if you get it wrong, it goes to the other person.
Hey, we'll do it like we do on reaction shots. We'll say, I know it.
So what do you want?
If I know it, I'm going to say, I know it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, I'm good with
All
I know it,
right.
but just basically the first to speak.
Okay, all right.
The first to speak. However, do not say I know it. It's multiple choice. You have 3 options for each question.
hear all the options before speaking.
Yes. So
no jumping in.
let me say C and then what C is, and then you can say it.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What if I know it immediately?
Wait until all the
Wait
questions
till
are read.
just so we can have some.
Okay.
This isn't like Family Feud or whatever where you
He's just
jump
excited.
in.
He just wants to get it right. All right. Which country was Remember Me developed in? This was created by Don't Nod. A, the UK. B, France. Or C, Sweden.
I
know it'd be
France. You got it.
Be
You got it.
France.
It's me. It's France.
1 point for Ian.
I know it'd be France. I know it'd be France.
Which country was the game Xeno Clash developed in? This was created by Ace Team. A, Venezuela. B, Peru. Or C, Chile.
I'm
gonna guess.
Know it?
You know it?
He was
You know it?
a little bit firmer. I'm gonna give it to Huber.
I'm gonna guess Venezuela.
Incorrect.
What letter was that?
Venezuela was A. So the options are A, Venezuela, B, Peru, C, Chile. So
C?
another
Chile?
point for
Nice.
another point for Ian.
I thought
Chile.
Venezuela too. I thought it was A. But then you nailed it, so I was like, okay, it must be.
Yes.
As I gave it to him for being sure, I was like, wait, we just said that whoever said it first, but I couldn't tell if you were committing to it.
Well,
It's
it
a
was
little
funny. It was
nebulous.
funny because he said, "I'm going to guess," but very confidently, and I
Yeah.
said, "I know it," but very unconfidently.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off a little bit. That may not have been the best way to handle it. But
No,
here we
no,
are.
no. I'm happy it went that way
It's
because
just-
he guessed the one I was going to
The
guess. and
stakes
it
are
was
so
wrong.
high
Yeah.
because if whichever one of you doesn't win will die eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to get stuck in this dimension.
Right.
No, right.
I gotta get out of here.
All right. Which country was Crisis developed in? This is created by Crytek. Your options are A, Russia, B, Ukraine, or C, Germany.
I know it. Is it the Ukraine?
No, incorrect. Your options, Michael Huber, A, Russia, B, Ukraine, C, Germany.
Germany.
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Russia or the Ukraine.
I was like, no, it's not like Metro. It's not Russia.
Right.
Fourth
It's
question.
that German engineering. Crytek.
That engine.
Which country was Kerbal Space
Difficult
Program?
to understand, but very powerful.
Which country was Kerbal Space Program developed in? This is created by Squad. Your options are A, Mexico, B, Brazil, C, Spain.
Say that again. I was thinking
Which-
about my offensive joke.
Which country was Kerbal Space Program developed in? This was created by Squad. Was the country A, Mexico, B, Brazil, or C, Spain?
I'm gonna say Mexico.
Correct.
Damn. I was like, it's either Mexico or Brazil.
I feel like I heard that one time in passing at an E3 when they were showing it.
We're tied up.
Or I made
You're
it up.
tied up.
Oh no.
We gotta get out of here.
This is either going to be extremely obvious for you or make you second guess yourself. Which country was The Witcher developed in?
Poland.
Huber.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Like I knew it too.
DQ.
That's a.
DQ.
We're gonna have to give that point to Ian.
I was like, it's Poland.
Huber,
Sorry.
we clearly stated the directions.
The Witcher. It gets me excited. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You see why I was trepidatious at first.
Yes, you were right. You were right. Huber, you screwed up, but it was a lovable screw up. But we're gonna have to give that point to Ian.
It's the Witcher.
You I have a sense that when you did it, you knew that you screwed up, but you kind of accepted it.
Had to
Poland!
Witcher.
Freedom.
Keep me in this dimension. Yeah. Yes, it was Poland. So you're correct, but you
we
also
love you.
lose
It's
the game.
okay.
All right, Ian, this is the first time that you've. I don't know if you've done other caught in a frame traps.
Never.
Okay, well, this is not only your first caught in a frame trap, but your first win in a caught in
Yeah.
a frame trap. So what we do is the winner of the caught in the frame trap gets to break us out of this alternate dimension.
Oh.
So you can choose whether it's a fancy saying or a physical action, whatever you want it to be that you think would be powerful enough to get us out of this dimension.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tall responsibility.
Well, in my experience, the way you have to get out of dimensions is very scientifically, technologically advanced.
Yeah, not in this show.
Oh. Well, in my experience.
Sure,
My
right.
experience breaking out of other dimensions, you have to set up a quantum de-entangler.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
So, I'll mime it here. It's a tripod, and you have to align the crystals on top. And there are 3 tripods. You know, it's kind of like in the movie Congo.
Okay.
Where they have the
Never
thing.
seen it.
Yeah, it's bad. So you line up these tripods, these 3 tripods, and you align the crystals just right. And then
Okay.
we have to get in the middle. So
Oh.
we get in the middle of the 3 crystals. Okay.
We would just put our hands in?
Yeah, hands
Like a
are
Ouija
enough.
board.
Hands are enough. And then, it's science, so you don't have to, say a phrase or anything. You just push a button
Okay.
and hope that it works. Because there's a good chance. It's like a 50-50
It
chance.
makes a lot of sound, right?
It makes a lot of sound, yeah.
Okay.
But there's a 50-50 chance, maybe a 40-60 chance that we'll just be completely obliterated.
Okay. Willing to take it.
All
We're
right,
already
all
in
right.
this
So I'm gonna
mission.
push the button.
We did it!
We made it!
Oh,
Right.
bro, I just spilled Coke on my phone!
Oh!
It's a risk you run.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quantum de-entangler.
Hey,
I think
we
I
didn't
lost
get
a finger.
obliterated. We just got some Coke on the
you
phone.
got a Coke on the phone.
Yeah.
That's like a 10% chance.
Yep. Well, that is Caught in a Frame Trap. If you would like to sponsor our next trip to another dimension, please go to patreon.com/easyallies where you can find more information.
I want to apologize for my crisis engine joke. It had
German engineering.
I didn't even remember
The
what you said.
German difficult to understand but powerful. I didn't intend.
That's because it's hard to understand because it's so complex. I
Yeah.
don't think it was offensive.
Okay.
German
I was just
engineering
there
is,
are
like,
weird ways
legit.
that you can read that wrong, and I didn't
Yeah.
intend them like that. Yeah, I was thinking more like
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Yeah, okay, good.
Did not register.
Okay, yeah, I was not talking
A lot of
about
things don't, though.
the 40s or anything. Didn't mean it like that.
I have to commend you. Very creative effort to get out of the frame trap.
Yeah.
You made a whole story there.
I mean, it's just my experience.
Yeah, it's just, true. Nonfiction story.
Yeah.
Nonfiction. All right, so I'm going to talk about some games. The first game that I'm going to talk about, I am extremely excited,
Oh. I know what one of them is.
but... so the first game is Dragon Quest XI. I have put in about 2 hours into the PS4 version and then about maybe an hour into the 3DS version. And so I am at the very beginning of this journey, and I'm so bummed. I've been hyping up Dragon Quest XI. Since I heard about it, I knew I was going to import right away, and we just happened to be sandwiched between me going home and visiting family and us doing 50 hours of streams, and then I've had a lot of
50-hour stream.
videos that I've had to put up in the meantime, so I just have not had a tremendous opportunity to play as much as I would like. But
You're playing in Japanese?
I'm playing in Japanese.
Insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing in Japanese.
Insane to me.
Do you know enough Japanese to do that?
I know very, very, very little Japanese, but so far, again, very beginning, no problems. Have not hit any walls whatsoever. And I was thinking about it. The reason I think a lot of it is going so well is that I've just played a lot of Dragon Quest before, and so just icons and things. It's like, oh, I know
Okay.
what that is, or I know what type of thing that belongs to. So
But
it's
do you know what
pretty
people
easy.
are saying at all?
No,
Like
I
the
have no idea
story?
what they're saying. So in terms to infer the story, I'm going with
visuals.
facial expressions and just
He's upset.
that sort of stuff.
You're a hero, and I love it and respect it, but it also is
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's
right.
you're playing Dragon Quest XI, dude. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. So what makes you go?
Because the story and what they're saying, and it's
Oh, yeah.
you know.
I think the
tough.
reason why I feel okay about it is I'm gonna go back and
Yeah.
play it in English, and if we review it, we're going to review it in English, and we're gonna have
Yeah.
that context, and we're gonna know what they're saying.
Final question. Do we know if is this the one that we're not sure if
coming
it's
to the
coming
West.
It
America?
is coming.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So
Okay.
I think it was the day that it came out in Japan. They announced that it was coming
Okay.
to the West. But part of the reason I imported it is I didn't know if we were gonna get it, and I wanted to cover it and talk about it and say hey, no, this is cool.
Because we're
interested in
getting
this.
it, but we don't know when. This could be. They say
2018.
2018. They say 2018, but this could mean March or November. So this
Right.
could still be over a year away.
2019.
Which hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to really love the small sections in magazines where they would do import previews. I loved learning about stuff that was like really big in another country and we couldn't get yet or was coming later. There's just something about that difference, that uniqueness of this thing that I think has always fascinated me. But also, I just want to play Dragon Quest and I can't wait, so I will totally take it in this form. That's also the real reason. But again, you know, you have to take everything I'm saying with he has not seen very much.
No, it's the best game ever made.
Boy, it seems really good,
Yeah.
Huber. I can't get over both versions. How good they look.
Ben is a madman. He is like his slime card is laminated and in his wallet, playing PS4 and 3DS versions.
And I don't
Both.
think I would have been able to play the 3DS version were it not for an extremely generous patron, Anathsol, who gave us his Japanese 3DS, and he said, hey, I know you want to cover Dragon Quest 11, use this.
Sweet.
So mad props to you. Thank you for letting me do that. And my goal is to be working on and eventually get up a Dragon Quest 11 preview for both versions.
Yeah.
I have no idea how long that's going to take. Or when it's going to go up.
Ben,
But that is
I don't
something that we're
want
thinking
to.
about.
I don't want to hijack your segment. I just have one
No, it's
last
okay.
thing to say.
Yeah.
I just want people to realize that, you know, Dragon Quest VIII was technical marvel on PS2. That came out in like 2004, I
Still
believe.
a gorgeous game.
Came out like 13 years ago. Since then, we had
Right.
Dragon Quest IX, which is kind of a multiplayer 3D DS Dragon Quest game, and then they went the MMO route for Dragon Quest X. So, for all intents and purposes, Dragon Quest XI is the first time since Dragon Quest VIII that we've had this huge, massive, single-player Dragon Quest AAA budget since, you know, it's been a very long time coming.
Right.
That I'm trying to hype up. You know, it's not like, oh, you know, Dragon Quest Heroes just came out, Builders. It's like, oh, there's always Dragon Quest games. And it's like, when you look at it, it's been a really long time since we've had this classic Dragon Quest game. That's
I
all
really
I want to say.
don't think screenshots or videos do it justice. It's a beaut. Like, you go back and I think you read old coverage of when Dragon Quest VIII initially came out, and they're like, this is the best video game visualization of Akira Toriyama's art style. Nah. This is the best visualization of Akira Toriyama's art style. Like, it is just the colors, and I mean, you're going up this ladder and you're in this cave and this torch is reflecting light, and the way it's reflecting light off the walls and the way that light is bouncing off your sword is just so cool. Just the expressiveness of the characters, their faces, the way they light up. And there's so much to talk about. There's so much I want to say. But the real big thing that I want to drive home is the way that enemies are presented and how much personality they give them. It's something that is always just the visual design of enemies, I think, of Dragon Quest has always been impressive, but they take that to another level here. So, like, one of the enemies is called a Cruel Cumber, and basically it's a giant cucumber with arms and legs and a spear, and it's got this, like, when you kill it, it'll fall down, and then its spear will come down, and it'll try to catch it, and it'll go, no! And then you'll see the platypunk, basically this squat little, like, white platypus. And when you fight him, he'll, like, get in your face and go, rawr! And it's just, you're like, I love you.
Yeah.
I love fighting you. I love the way that you look.
Oh, those enemies.
And you were talking about how, like, playing in Japanese, I'm really intimidated. I think it speaks to how that game is presenting itself. I mean, I haven't struggled with anything. You get a horse right away. That horse is very easy to understand. You can, if you, like, lose track of the horse, or you don't have it for some reason, you just go up to these bells and ring it, you get the horse back. Combat has been really easy to figure out, the way that they use symbols for abilities and things like that. There's less of this on 3DS, but it's still been pretty decent. Just everything. I feel like I'm able to get in fights, explore, get to where I need to go just fine so far.
I really wish this was coming out this year. Hopefully this trend continues into next year, but I feel like with Final Fantasy 15 and Persona 5, those are prolific franchises that have had fan bases forever, but they reached a whole new audience. Like, you know, they sold extremely well, you know, again, just reaching new players, and that's always going to happen as time goes on. You're going to reach new players, but it's not always a guarantee. So I hope Dragon Quest XI maintains that. I know it obviously sold extremely well in Japan. Like, it's legendary in Japan. But I hope that it happens here as well in the West.
Yeah, I think this game will find an audience. And it speaks...
And Yakuza as well. I didn't even mention Yakuza.
Right.
Same thing, Yakuza 0.
Right. So. Yeah, I think this game will find an audience because it's just, so far, it's extremely impressing me, and it speaks to something that Damiani mentioned earlier. We were talking about Final Fantasy 12, and he said, I want something in between a Final Fantasy 15. I don't want necessarily like, all right, you can go anywhere at any time. I want it a little bit more closed off. I want it a little bit more segmented, but I want those segments to feel big.
Yeah.
And so it's not overwhelming and it's not empty, but you also have plenty of freedom to explore, and where you're going produces interesting results.
Yeah.
That is
Jason
loud
Voorhees
saw.
out there.
Yeah.
Getting rid of a body.
Every frame trap.
Yeah.
We got a myriad of noises. We've got yard work, we got wood cutting, we got ambulance and police sirens. Tried our best.
Yeah.
In the garage. What was I saying?
You were talking about Damiani wanting meaningfully like large environments, but not the whole open world at once.
Right, and that's happening in Dragon Quest XI. In the beginning, areas even.
Yeah.
Like even in the very first areas, outside of kind of the basic tutorial, prologue kind of thing.
Well, I'm worried Damiani's just gonna pass it off because of the
of
way
the
it looks, and it's like I can't get mad at somebody for not liking a video game because they just don't like the way it looks. Like if you look at it and you say I'm not into that, like, you know, sure, I obviously encourage everyone to, despite not looking, you know, if you look at it and you think you don't like it, maybe give it a chance.
Right.
But I'm not gonna be mad at anyone for looking at something and say, all right, just not for me.
Sure.
You know, play what you want to play.
But yeah, just going into a house and having it be extremely detailed and getting a sense of how this person lives and what they do, or going over to this random corner of the map and finding something to harvest or a treasure chest to find. I mean, it's something that Dragon Quest has done a lot of times, where there's hidden stuff to find if you poke around the world, but it's just these worlds have not had as much detail as they have here, and there's just this coziness that permeates every aspect.
Culmination. It's my favorite video. I always get that question of if you could live in a video game, where would it be? And it's without hesitation Dragon Quest.
Yeah, and it's hard not to think about Dragon Quest VIII every time I'm playing this game. And obviously I can't really compare the characters or the overarching storyline because I don't understand the language for the most part, but everything else, the vibe of the environments, the way it's presenting itself, the way that it's pacing itself, is very much, if you liked Dragon Quest VIII, you will probably very much like this game.
Ben, I'm so mad at you right now.
Just come over and play it anytime
upset.
you want. I don't care if
this
it's 2 in the morning.
game was so, like, I have defense mechanisms, man. Like, I push games away and suppress them if they're far off. Like, I dream about Shenmue 3, but at the same time, there's a wall up that's like, this game is, they say 2017, no, it's 2020. Oh, well, we delayed it till 2018. Okay, so it's delayed till 2022. Like, Dragon Quest 11 was defended, and now you're like, yeah, just playing it at my house. It's the best game ever. It's like,
Well, I was hoping to get in here, and maybe I will definitely get to this point where it's like I can't progress. But so far, just kind of going through everything's been fine.
Well, what's good is you'll be able to, like, if you ever do reach that point, you'll still be able to, like, free roam and just fight and enjoy that. You know, kind of like episode Duske in a way. It's like you can just run around and look at things and whatever happens.
There are two things I want to bring up about importing games. Is the first for us, right? Like, it really kills me that we didn't have Persona 5 up by embargo. With these big, huge games, man, it is hard to hit that time when there's 9 of us and when we have
with a small game, it's hard. Honestly,
with a small game, it's hard. And so, I'm kind of hoping, we'll see if this plays out. If I end up playing a lot of Dragon Quest 11, where it's like, okay, this will streamline the review process for the English version. So I'm hoping it has a practical effect.
Getting ahead of it. Putting one foot out.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But it's an interesting thing to think about. The second thing that is really fun with importing, and if you're curious about it, I would give it a try, is it's fun learning with a community where it's like, okay, we're all importing this and we're going to try to figure out online together. Where are you at? What does this mean? It just creates this community for this long, huge single-player game that's really fun to interact with. And just that you move much slower, obviously, than you would with another game, but it is kind of a very unique experience that you wouldn't otherwise get. And so that's cool as well. Have you ever imported a game, Ian?
My roommate imported Puyo Puyo Tetris, and we played a lot of that in Japanese. There were like whole modes I didn't even know about because we would always kind of stumble through the menu to try to figure out which mode we could play, and then it was kind of just a surprise. You're like, okay, we're doing that one. And now playing in English, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Fusion, swap, it all makes sense. But that was an import. I'm trying to think of a buddy of mine imported Demon Souls way back in the day because it was in English anyway.
Ryan Stevens imported Demon Souls.
Yeah, I remember that too, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any other ones.
You had a question, I think?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've imported just one game only in my entire life.
What was that?
Shenmue 2.
Nice.
On Dreamcast.
But you were importing...
But it had English subs.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. So it was like the European
the
version. Yeah. It had like multiple languages and English subs.
And was that your first full playthrough? Was that version not the Xbox version?
Yeah, I didn't touch the Xbox version until way down the line.
Very cool.
So,
I do want to talk a little bit specifically about the 3DS version.
What's the difference?
So far, it seems to me, and they've said this, but like, yes, I can confirm this based on what I've played so far, that the story and the way things play out are identical.
Okay.
So far, same characters, same setup, all that stuff. I can't tell if like the lines are slightly different or anything like that, but in broad strokes, it seems exactly the same. But the difference is, on the 3DS version, on the top screen, you have 3D squat models in a 3D world, and in the bottom screen, simultaneously, you have retro sprite-based graphics.
Weird.
And so when you move, you're moving your character in this 3D world and in the 2D world at the same time. And it's really, really cool. And when you get into battles, you can switch between having 3D battles where your characters will like run up and hit the thing, or the classic Dragon Quest 2D battles where you just see them slash and you have the big enemy sprites and things like that. And so that's really cool. But what I found interesting that I didn't realize based on watching footage is when you convert a 3D world into a 2D world, because it's 2D, you just naturally see a lot more on the bottom screen. Mm-hmm. And so like I'd be looking for something and I would see it on the bottom screen first. And so it's kind of had that practical application, or seeing like treasure chests. It's been easier to find because I also have the retro mode simultaneously. And so, I thought that was...
And it's like early Final Fantasy where you're like moving around, like you have the
top
X
down.
And Y axis is top down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, how do they do that? Because I was thinking side on, and I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting how they represent some of the characters. Like you encounter a dog right at the very beginning of the game, and he's like kind of a light yellow dog, and you have like a sprite that is like
yellow square.
No, it's like this like dark brown, but you could totally still tell it's a dog kind of thing. And so just seeing the differences between the two of them are really interesting.
I wonder why they did that. That's so weird.
Yeah, an ability, a new thing with the combat system that I haven't really gotten to play around with too much, it just seems cool, is this new zone mechanic where as you take damage, you'll eventually activate this aura where your attacks are more effective. If other party members are zoned up with you, you can do like chain attacks.
Can you attack your party members to trigger that?
I don't know. I just got Zone recently, and I don't have any additional party members.
Okay.
But apparently, and I have not seen this yet either, enemies can also get Zone. And so you want to be careful about it seems like you just want to be careful about
That's so great because those kabooms and kafrizzes that, take out a whole line, that's dangerous because then you're going to trigger a major zone on everyone. Yeah. That's really cool. That shakes up combat considerably.
Yeah.
Sick.
Haven't had a chance to test it out myself, but just conceptually, it's like, oh, that's a clever thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't want to go too far. I will the very next frame trap that we do, I will hopefully have a lot more to say, a lot more to dig into. Hopefully I'll have some more time. And like I said, we will be slowly working on like pretty big, substantial preview that will include both versions of the game. So look forward to more. And let me know if you're playing Dragon Quest XI and what your experiences are so far. Yeah, the last thing that I want to talk about is one that I finished a while ago but haven't brought it up until now, and that is Beyond Two Souls.
Did not see that coming, Ben.
Neither did I.
I was like, okay, it's going to be something kind of recent.
A new thing that we started a couple of months ago, my girlfriend and I, is we like to play through games together. And we played through Overcooked, and she loved it so much. Because she wasn't really into games. Like, she played Plants vs. Zombies on her phone, but Overcooked, like, opened the door. It's like, oh, no, I want to do more of this. And she's like, well, I really like story-based things. And I was like, okay, let's do Life is Strange, and we still haven't finished Life is Strange, and then we jumped to Beyond, and she really liked that, and we played through all of it. And I played like maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth of it when it initially came out, but now I've gone all the way through it. And David Cage games...
Are you playing regular or direct?
I was playing PS3. I was not playing PS4.
Chill.
It was just the version that I had, and I went on
Just
the
a
store.
normal-
Yeah, I went on the store, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'll just stick with... I don't want to spend
I
the
never
extra
played
$20
the
or
director's
whatever it
cut.
was.
That always seemed really weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like you're telling a story and everyone was like complaining about it, so you go back and you remix it. It's like,
Is that what the director's cut did?
yeah, it like puts things in chronological order.
Oh,
yeah,
weird.
and the way that game is broken up, where you're jumping all over the place, is pretty integral to like experiencing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how different the director's cut experience is, but
Yeah.
David Cage games frustrate me, and they have for a long time. I remember liking like 75% of Indigo Prophecy, and then really not liking that final 25%. I remember really liking like almost all of Heavy Rain, and then really getting upset by the ending. I sort of feel the same way here. I feel like Quantic Dream games are good at creating moments, and I think their central ideas are pretty strong and interesting. And so for those of you who don't know, Beyond Two Souls is a game about a girl named Jodie, and she sort of has this presence, this almost ghostly spiritual presence named Aiden.
Demonic vibes.
Right. It's been with her forever. And she can talk to it, other people can't talk or see it, and it can like have pretty dramatic effects on the rest of the world. It can break shit.
Yeah.
Can she see it, or is it just a voice and a presence?
Can she see it?
I don't think she could see it.
I think she can just
like,
talk
sense
to it.
Yeah.
She can sense
yeah.
it, feel it. And obviously this creates a lot of tensions in her life. People she tries to get close to. Aiden is a problem. This demon that is following you around. It creates some strife within the family as well. And some of those individual episodes where you're sort of taking this idea and applying this context to it are really interesting in and of themselves because of the choices that you get when you're going through it. Where it's like, okay, I have kids that are bullying me. How do I use this supernatural thing that I have to get back at them, and how far do I go with that? And it's just kind of interesting to see those things play out. I think the thing that drives me nuts about Beyond is there are some situations it puts you in so quickly that like you can't, and because the story is jumping around so much, where it's like, wait, how do we get here? This is crazy. This seems like there's not a good line to follow here, and so you don't feel that momentum of the story, I guess, because it is so scattershot. Maybe that's fixed in the director's cut. And then when it gets to the end, you're focusing on these individual episodes, and it has to tie things up at the end. And it feels like some of the things that it ends are unearned. That it kind of just does it because it has to do it, and you don't really feel the strong emotions that it's trying to elicit out of you.
A big thing for me is I have finished those 3 games. Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, and Beyond Two Souls. I can very, very clearly remember the way Heavy Rain ended.
Yeah.
Very clearly. I have no idea how Beyond Two Souls ended. I have no idea how to beat this game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have very vivid memories of the different set pieces, like of the
Right.
soiree and the like being in the lab and the Native American part and being homeless. Like, I can remember all of those so clearly. I just don't remember the nitty-gritty details as well as Heavy Rain.
Right. One thing that I do think it does well with the episodic structure that it has is it really plays around with the length of these episodes. Some of them are quite long and involve a lot of intense action. Others are extremely short, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'm kind of guessing here, but just like, okay, we're establishing this specific thing, we're filling in this blank, and then moving on. And so it does give the game kind of a nice flow where it is easy to play a lot of it at once, because it's not just these huge slogs of chapters.
Selling point for Ian, I don't know if Ian remembers, Willem Dafoe is in this game.
I remember that.
I think Willem Dafoe and Ellen Page do a really good job.
Yeah. I feel this game feels more relevant than ever because of Stranger Things. Like, it's kind of got a vibe of like,
yeah, definitely,
doctor in a lab, like, you know, kid with powers.
I do wish the characters Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe were playing did not look like Willem Dafoe and Ellen Page, because
it's straight up Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, it goes right into that uncanny valley where it's like, no, I know this person, and he's not quite moving how I know this person is, and I think it just would have been a little bit more effective if they were totally different models. But minor point.
Fascinating game, though.
It is a fascinating
I honestly think Quantic Dream games are worth playing because they, like, you know, I think of them and Telltale of really, really trying to tell a story in a cinematic way. I know Ian doesn't always like that style.
It depends.
But
it depends.
It depends. But
some games do it very well.
Yeah, I like the way they do it with like choices and stuff. You know, maybe that hasn't aged quite as well, that way to tell a story, but you know, I appreciate it. Because I go into it differently. I look at it like I'm just playing a movie.
Yeah,
right. I kind of wish that David Cage specifically would kind of just embrace that.
Yeah.
Like, because he always rails against it. It's like, it's not a movie, it's a game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, it's an interactive story. You're doing an interactive story, which, is a game, but, like, I think it would serve him better if he, instead of trying to be like, this is a video game, be like, no, man, you're doing a different thing. Like, invent a new term for it and make that a selling point. Like,
I will say, playing it with another person has been awesome, because sometimes I would be making the decisions and sometimes she'd be making the decisions, and you would have those natural moments where it's like, wait, really? That's what you're going to do? Yeah. And just, like, talking out, justifying your own actions for this character was a lot of fun.
You're out on Detroit, though, right?
I'm I'm into Detroit. I really hope that, like, because the trailers are always like, you could do this, and then it rewinds, and it's like, oh, but you could do this. I really hope that it has the weight that the trailers are implying that it'll have.
From what Ben and I have played at E3, like, holy shoot, dude, high stakes.
The slice that we saw was really good.
Like, I want to feel bad for, like, screwing up and, like, like, I said the wrong thing, and that dude dropped that little girl or whatever, and it's like, that was on me. Like,
that's why I remember Heavy Rain.
I want to feel pain, you know?
Yeah, that definitely came across, just worried about, again, the whole experience.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is like, on the long term, like, because that's a lot of work. Like, telling a story like this with a branching narrative, they say, what is it, the String of Pearls design, where it's like, it'll branch out, but then it always comes back to the string, you know? So you have, like, little bubbles of choice, but then it always bottlenecks back into one point. And like the thing that I do for the $50 patron level, the gift I make is a Twine story, and like it does like branch out sometimes, and like you have to bring it back to bottlenecks where, like, because otherwise it just gets unmanageable, because like if you have one branch here and if you keep it branched and it branches another time, like, that's 3 branches, so you're at, like, 6. It just gets, like, exponentially insane.
Sure.
Which is, like, maybe it's, like, a tech situation where he won't be able to tell a good story or the way he wants to do it for a really long time. Like, Because you would have to
It's
maybe
just a
make,
manpower thing. Like
you would have to
just
make like
keeping
7 or 8 games within
keeping
one.
track of the. Like, if you can do it in a smart way where you have variables that track and just, like, proc different things in different ways later, like, that's another way of doing it where it's like, okay, this choice here in, like, story beat A, you can say A, B, or C, and, like, it doesn't change anything huge, but then, like, later on, A, B, or C will happen differently here.
Yeah.
Where you do, like, micro branches like that, which is another way, but it feels less impactful.
Until
then.
Dawn was so great because like people die.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
a good repercussion and a way to do it while
Butterfly
maintaining
effect,
that
yeah.
that through line.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do, man. And like I have
yeah.
yet to see a game that has like really, really significant, meaningful, huge branches
Yeah.
like that. Where like, yeah, this character died in the beginning of the game,
Yeah.
and so I just miss out on like 30% of the content.
I was gonna say that's why I always think about Heavy Rain because my ending was depressing.
Yeah. Mine was too, I believe.
I just remember I remember the
messed
ending.
up
It didn't make sense
On those damn electrical wires, you had to like press all these quick time buttons and hold it, and like one of the buttons didn't work, and I was doing something wrong, and I kept getting zapped, and I couldn't do something, and then my whole playthrough just spiraled out of control. It was like,
I remember in Heavy Rain where you'd have to do like hold down 3 buttons at a time and
Yeah,
store your
yeah,
hand.
yeah.
You have to hold down multiple buttons and beyond, but I don't think it goes beyond 2.
Yeah.
Like I never had the
Souls.
uncomfortable moments that I had in Heavy Rain. But yeah,
Man, Until Dawn.
some frustrating aspects, but
Yeah.
overall, I enjoyed it.
fun ride.
That
yeah.
Until Dawn playthrough that we did was like favorite memory
Yeah.
of
You just-
gaming. Maybe one of my favorites.
You think about how easy, not easy, but like how nice it is for horror games to be able to boil it down to, okay, your decisions ultimately determine if they die or if they live. Like, that is the
Exactly.
most
Well, and also
important
like
thing.
that is the way to play a game like that, where you have like however many characters there are in the game, you get that many people, and then you assign a character to each person.
Yeah.
The stakes,
Yeah.
because like you don't want to not play anymore. You don't
Yeah.
want to die.
Yeah. And I really hope they do a sequel.
Oh yeah,
Please.
I've been praying.
Please.
I've been hoping
'Cause it
for
did
a
so well.
Until Dawn sequel.
Yeah. I hope, yeah.
I hope Detroit does well. I hope Detroit's awesome.
Until
Yeah.
Dawn was that kind of game where I don't think many people expected a lot about it, and then it just became really well liked.
But
But
you
the
think-
problem is that people streamed it, and then no one needs to buy it because they've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any
I know. I
regrets.
haven't played it since that playthrough.
Oh no, yeah.
And I own it, and it's like sitting in my queue, and like
Yeah.
I want to go back to this.
I'd love
but
to play it again, but I probably never will.
Do you think Detroit is a turning point in David Cage's career? Do you think if this game fails, he will not make another game like this?
I think more if it succeeds, it'll be huge for him because then people will be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, finally you were able to pull it off."
Everything he worked for,
Yeah,
this
because
is
like
a
it
big
feels
moment.
like he's been trying to pull it off, whatever it is,
Yeah.
for years, and
Yeah.
he's never done it. And like this one feels like it could be it.
yeah.
I like his other games were so like Beyond Two Souls was so critically panned. I feel like, but here he is again.
Next, yeah.
You know, so it's like
It wasn't critically obliterated, but
Right.
it wasn't like
it was
mixed.
not a success.
Yeah,
Like,
I
people
wouldn't-
didn't respect.
certainly
that
not a
game.
critical darling,
Right.
And even I think among the general audience, I don't think it's a beloved game. But man, like, I don't want everything to be a success. I
Yeah.
want the interesting failures, and I'm glad that, like, if I have said some nasty things about David Cage that I still stand behind in some not about David Cage as a person, but David
Right,
Cage
right.
as
His
a
work.
as
Choices.
right as a creator, but yeah, and his work. But I keep playing his games because there's something in there that's interesting. I can see that ambition, and
I'm very
curious to see how
happy that he
Detroit goes.
keeps giving it a shot.
Yeah, I am too, and I honestly, genuinely hope that succeed or fail with Detroit. I hope there's enough interesting stuff in it that I'm excited to play whatever his next thing is,
Yeah.
regardless of how I ultimately feel about it.
And delays used to be kind of a kiss of death in movies and video games, but that has been proven otherwise
Seems
in
the opposite
recent
now
years, you know?
sometimes, Yeah, it seems like I would have been like, yo, delay Andromeda more. Like, you know,
Yeah.
pushing it out is not the right choice.
No.
We got to bring Ian in. What does Ian say? Yo, delay that more.
Yo, delay it more.
Yo, delay it more.
Pay it off. Make those faces work. Maybe have a story. I didn't play it. I don't know.
I didn't play it.
It's time for HOTTAKE! So I was reading in the news
Whoa.
that
Dragon
GameStop
Quest
is
sold.
going to make its employees work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I read this too.
That's kind of a bummer.
Who's gonna go buy a game on Thanksgiving?
They're gonna
I
have a
bet
sale.
people will. I bet you know
They're
you
gonna
have
have
family
a
come
day
over.
of sale.
You have family come over on Thanksgiving. You get bored. You say, "Let's bust out the." I don't know. What do the kids play?
The
these days?
GameCube, but
You
then
know,
the controller
Let's
doesn't
all
work.
let's all buy 3DSs and play Etrian Odyssey 4 together. You know, you're the typical American family
Yeah, that
thing.
happens.
Yeah,
That happens.
absolutely. But
Right after the cranberry sauce.
of course, with reporting all this news, people are saying that, hey, the reason GameStop is doing this is, one, it's a lot of its competitors do it, and two, they're not doing amazing.
Right.
And so this got me thinking. It is a very common question, but physical media, right?
got a
Physical
lot to
game
say about
stores.
this.
I don't want to. If the conversation evolves that way, that's totally fine. But I specifically want to ask if game stores go away, specific game dedicated stores, not your Walmarts, not your Targets, anything like that, but your GameStops, your mom and pops, that sort of stuff. Will you, panel, personally miss them, or are you okay
Yes.
with things are going?
Yes.
For me, there's a difference between a mom and pop and a GameStop.
Sure,
Because
absolutely.
to me, a GameStop is basically a Walmart. Like, I don't care.
sure.
Yeah.
But like gameplay,
I want to support.
I want to support, you know,
Yeah.
or like local comic book shops. Like I like Comic Bug.
Yeah.
I go
Well,
there
hold on.
and I'll like buy a comic from him specifically.
So if GameStop wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow, you don't care.
I would not care at all.
Okay. If GameStop specifically wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow, would you care, Michael Huber?
GameStop?
GameStop.
No, but I feel like it would have intense ramifications on mom and pops. Like mom and pops would be shaking in their boots. Like, holy shit, GameStop just went under. What chance do we have?
I actually think it might have the inverse effect.
I hope so.
Because I mean, like, well, here's the thing too. It's like, I mean, this is a very capitalist thing, but it's like carve out a niche. Like Game Dude is a highly respected retro game store that seems to be doing very well. Every time I go in there, it's very busy.
Yeah.
They have a huge stock, and it's like I'm not worried for Game Dude because they have that niche. You
Right.
know, Gameplay, I am a little worried because in that specific store they used to have the DVD store next door that used to be a thing, and like
Yeah.
they merged them, and like so I worry. But if GameStop went away, maybe more people would go to the mom and pops.
Hope so.
But I mean, like, I'm done with physical media, more or less. So it's like, for me, like, yeah, I want local businesses to be supported, for sure. And especially if they have a niche like that, where it's like, hey, yeah, I can't get this anywhere else. This is a great resource for me, you know?
Let me throw this at you. When I grew up, there was a great mom and pop video game store called Cartmart. And then that eventually evolved into Video Game Depot, and then it went out of business.
Yeah.
I love this place. And there was one other mom and pop that I actually ended up working at, but in like the thing that I was most aware of, and I think the thing for most people, and there are areas where they only, in terms of game dedicated stores, they don't have that cool mom and pop. They
Right.
just have the GameStop. And
Good point.
I would get excited as a kid going into GameStop and getting into a conversation with somebody,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
just kind of, there was something special about going to a place that was all about games. And I do think there is that sort of cultural aspect. And so do you think for those areas where all they have is a GameStop, does that take something away, or am I overvaluing that?
No, I mean, I've thought the same way, Ben. Like, I grew up, I used to love going to GameStop, EB
Yeah.
Games. It
Yeah.
didn't matter that it was a
Oh, yeah.
corporation.
Right.
Until I started hearing about the way they treat employees. Until I
Sure.
started hearing about
Yeah.
Circle of Life and Open on Thanksgiving. Like,
Absolutely.
now I have no sympathy for you when you're treating your employees like that. Like, no one should have to work on Thanksgiving, period. End of discussion. What,
I mean, unless they want to.
Sure, unless they want to, I guess, but like you should have the choice as an employee. Like that, how many days do we get a year where it's all about family and all about the day off and just being able to relax? Like, it is insane and absurd to hold your employees responsible for coming into work that day. That's a
Yeah.
time when people come in from out of town, or when you need time off to travel to see your family. Like, that doesn't happen all the time. It's like a once or twice a year thing,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, or if you celebrate Christmas, like Thanksgiving is even the one.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's intense
It's
because
very
it's
well
right in
said.
front of Black Friday, which is like notorious, insane consumer day. So it's like, man, that's rough if you end up working both Thanksgiving and Black Friday.
I get really heated because I used to work in restaurants, and they used to do this holiday thing, and my girlfriend has to work on holidays, and it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's so unfair. It's so ridiculous. Like, 1 day, 2 days, that's all we're asking for out of 365 days.
Right.
Like, come on. And it all boils down to greed. It all boils down to greed. The only reason you're open is because you're making money on that day. You're missing out otherwise.
Yeah.
There's no other reason to be open on Thanksgiving other than income, more money.
Well, American culture especially is very work-centric. Like, paternity leave, maternity leave are shorter than a lot of other countries. Like, some, like, Norway apparently, like, I don't know the specifics, but, like, they have just, like, weeks off at a time at some points of the year, and it's just like, what?
Yep.
Like, the whole thing just shuts down? Like, what? How does that work? Like, it's unfathomable to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, like, our work days are shorter than that. Like, we only work this many days a year, like, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wow, what is life like? And I mean, like, now, all these articles about our generation, millennials or whatever, where it's like, oh, like 40% work from home. And it's like, yeah, but studies have shown, like, working fewer hours can actually be more productive.
Yeah.
Because they're better hours.
Yep.
And, like, so there's something to be said about that. And it's like,
Totally.
But America's so consumer-centric that it's like, if anyone's going to come into the store and buy something on Thanksgiving, I tried to go get a haircut on Super Bowl Sunday one time.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you're closed on Super Bowl Sunday?
But not on Thanksgiving.
I mean, that's a haircut, but, like, whatever.
To emphasize that, too, about better hours, like, when I worked in restaurants, like, some of my managers would be closed even though the company would not be. Like, I worked at P.F. Chang's, and they're like, no, our store's closed. We're done. The morale...
Oh, yeah.
Store-wide, everyone then wanting to do better for the manager, wanting to give back, coming in the next week refreshed. Like, the morale, being valued as an employee, made you want to work so much harder for the man.
Also, this is a huge point that I was going to bring up earlier when you were talking about that cool vibe of going into the mall and, like, being excited to go to the GameStop or whatever. Like, there's a huge element to that involves the personnel. And, like, GameStop doesn't have a great reputation for having, like, kind employees, Like, you hear stories about, like, like the jerk clerks. And I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but it's like, you hear stories. And it's like the comic book shop that I like over the other comic book shops because the dude who works there a lot of the time is super chill, really knowledgeable. I can have a conversation with this guy. Like, he doesn't freak me out. Like, I like certain board game stores over others because the people that work there are cool and chill, and I like to talk to them. And, like, if the GameStop has, like, cool people in it, then I could see that being a huge boon. And a way to do that is to please your employees. Like, have happy employees, and I think that pays dividends on loyalty, customer base.
I'm really good friends with a GameStop manager that I've known for, like, 10 years. Kathy. She worked at the one close to me. Then, when I was away at college and I came back, she was gone. Found her, that she's working at another store now in Tustin. Was over there because, like, I was looking for a game. They sent me to there. She was there. We, like, reconnected. I hadn't seen her in years. It was pretty awesome.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is really easy when you read a lot of the articles online about
not every employee is
to buy into a narrative that it's all bad. And I'm not saying that there aren't problems there that shouldn't be talked about. That's why we're talking about it on this show. But I've been into bad GameStops that I didn't go back to because I didn't like how aggressive they were.
They take advantage.
But I've also been into GameStops where they were super chill. They you could tell they worked there because they loved games.
Totally.
And however, whether I wanted to purchase it new or used, or if I wanted to pre-order or not, they were professional and kind and knowledgeable. And so, I do think it is important to not just lambast like very hard, very, very hard-working, very passionate people just because they may or may not work for a shitty company.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, like, the reason you have the narrative at all is because the employees are so bummed out.
Right.
That the corporate is like forcing them to do the like upselling of the used and all that stuff, and it's like they don't want to shill this stuff. They likely don't want to have to force things like that, and like that doesn't help morale.
Yep. Beth works at Morton's, and like starting last year or this year, they're open 365, Christmas and New Year's and
wow.
Thanksgiving.
Just roll
So
the dice.
everyone is so bummed. Like everyone,
sure.
No one cares about the company anymore because they're treated like animals, and it's all about profit. It's all about the bottom line.
Like I remember,
Pure greed.
I remember working when I grew up. I worked at a movie theater. The only day of the year it was ever closed. The only one was Christmas Eve. And I come from a very Norwegian, like Norse kind of background. So like we did our Christmas stuff is on Christmas Eve. Like we open our presents on Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day is kind of just like whatever. You open your stockings and that's it. And like generally then you get lunch and go to a movie because there's nothing else to do and you're sick of being around family or whatever, whatever it is. But I remember being like really pleased that we didn't ever have, like I knew for sure that the one day that we had our holiday, I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it was like a roll of the dice on like Thanksgiving Day or whatever if you had to go in,
Yeah.
So it sounds like to me the general vibe of this panel is we are bummed with some of the things GameStop is doing to its employees.
Yes.
But we
I
also
have no ill will towards our employees.
But we also seem
Yeah.
to accept that this thing is going away very soon.
What I wanted to bring up was we are from a different era. We are 30-somethings now. Well, I'm turning 30 soon, and
You're not 30 yet?
2 weeks.
Whoa. Happy
20
birthday.
28.
So, yeah.
You're 28.
I'm 28.
So
I'm 32.
I've grown up in the era of physical copies, DVD cases, jewel cases.
Yeah.
I like collecting too, so I love physical copies. There was a time not too long ago when I said, I'll never buy a digital game.
Yeah.
I always want the box. I always want the case. So the fact that I have now changed and I am 100% fine with downloading a game on a Monday night when it comes out and buying digital sales and I want that physical disc, but I'm home now. I don't really want to go to the store and grab it. I'll just download it. The fact that my generation is willing to do that,
Right.
the generation after me, physical is going to be a thing
Not
of the
a thing,
past.
yeah.
It will be extinct.
Yeah, absolutely. I spend more time with you guys than I spend with like any other human being in my life.
True.
So I feel qualified to make this statement. All of us, all 9 of us, are buying more games digitally than we're buying physically.
Yeah.
I mean,
in most cases.
I just bought Final Fantasy 12 physical though, because it's Final Fantasy 12.
Sure.
Still when a game comes out, I
but
want
a
to buy
lot
that.
of times, like I would say, for this generation of games, we have more digital games than physical games by a pretty decent margin.
I mean, to me, it all boils down to one word:
Yeah.
convenience.
Convenience, exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to
If I
get to.
and like if somebody's gonna break Street Date, I'll go buy the physical copy because I want to play this game 3 days early.
Right.
But if I can preload it, I'm just gonna do that because it's way easier. And if
Monday
I'm not
night,
gonna get it early anyway,
9 p.m.
yeah, boom, like
Yeah.
convenience. Like unless I'm getting it early, I'm not buying it.
It was
physical.
really the change really was the preload digital unlocking universally at Monday 9 p.m. West Coast time. That used to be kind of a hit or miss thing. Like, when does this game
When does
unlock?
this game
When are we
start?
gonna be able to play this? Like now that is a thing, like every Monday night.
Boom.
The new releases are coming out at 9 o'clock. Like that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this digital because I want to play Monday night instead of Tuesday.
I think that has been huge. I think things like Virtual Console, PS1, PS2 classics, Xbox 360 backwards compatibility, remasters, everything's getting a remaster. And so
Pyre being a digital game, like the games that are digital.
on
Digital
so
only,
many different avenues, whether it's like retro access or like speed, like digital is getting better in all of those areas all the time. However, I want you to think about a digital storefront. What do you think are it like? Let's pretend you cannot go to a store and buy a game. What would bum you out about the digital storefront that you wouldn't have access to, that you would in a physical storefront?
The interaction is sometimes pleasant. The idea of making an event out of it, maybe for me, it makes it a little more special. I'm taking time out of my day to go somewhere.
Right.
I'm browsing the store. I see the game. I take it, have it in my hand.
Right.
I purchase it. I see the purchase happen in front of my eyes, I have the box. There's that wait to play it. You have the box. You're looking at it.
Yeah.
Like instruction manuals are gone. That was
I
a
know,
big
that's
hit
what I was just thinking
for
about.
physical games. That was a
Right.
big blow.
'Cause,
But,
like, now-
even the back of the box, I love looking at. You know,
Right.
sometimes it's a 6 steel case. Like,
And maybe this is being a little bit too, I don't know, pedantic about the situation, like a little bit too minute with the details, but you were talking about growing up at a different time.
Yeah.
And I think seeing that box, seeing that big color instruction manual
Yeah.
It's romantic.
is
We
all part of
romanticize
the
it.
process. Like, that is when this game came out. That came with it. That is an important element to it. Like,
Yeah.
in order to get the full experience, you kind of need that, in my opinion.
yeah,
To
like
me-
a digital
to me-
game, it just downloads and you click start and you're in. It's a little,
Right.
But,
there's
like,
a slight
But
disconnect.
some do better than others.
Yeah.
You know, you have like the Mega Man Legacy Collection that does have a lot of stuff. It has the instruction manuals or like artwork or like you can listen to all the music separately. Like what I'm trying to say is some retro games, retro releases do take more care than others.
But I mean, like, to me, yeah, like, I lived in a small town, so it was like a 45-minute drive where you're reading the instruction manual of Suikoden 2,
Right.
waiting to play this game in the car, you know, because you're a kid and you don't get car sick reading a thing.
Yeah.
But, like, now, to me, physical copies are so whatever and cheap and, like, featureless most of the time
Yeah.
that it really is just an internetless download device. Like, that's all a disc is. It's just an internetless download.
Yeah.
So to me,
People-
like, I
people
don't
with-
care.
People with bad internet
Right.
have a hard
Have to
time
do
getting
it.
these games like
For
digitally.
sure. And like that is a thing, but it's becoming less and less of a thing, you know? And yeah, and I don't want to discount that for sure, but like yeah, man, like I don't know, I don't have any special place in my heart for it anymore cuz they don't make it special.
Well, let me throw this at you. Think about Steam. Think about the absolute mess of a storefront Steam has become.
Steam's trash.
Where it is hard for things to get noticed because there is so much and so much is being added all the time. As these digital storefronts gain more power, as these physical storefronts get phased out, what I'm worried about is just things getting swallowed up. Only the biggest things with the most money are getting most of the attention.
It's really depressing, and I weep for the future. I don't like to think about it because when Netflix took over,
Yeah.
like there are no video rental stores, and we all grew up with those, and we all know how special they were. You know, Netflix came in, low prices, streaming, put the blockbusters and the Hollywood videos out of business, and then jacked up the price. They jacked it up. So they took away our history and then kicked us in the ass.
That's pretty flagrant. I don't know. I mean, like
They did jack up the price, though.
Well,
they put it
yeah,
out of business.
but
They
also
raised the
like
price.
things just get more expensive over time. Like that's just how the world works. But also like Cinephile, a physical rental house in LA that's still happening, is a niche thing that has a service. Like I went and I rented Borgman there when we
Nice.
needed to watch Borgman because you
Nice.
can't get it anywhere else. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's on Amazon, whatever. But like, you know, like they have a purpose. It's a niche purpose, and that's why it still exists.
Well, there was a-
Blockbuster is a faceless corporate entity that had no special service.
But
So it didn't need to
multiple-
exist.
Like I had a place by me called the Warehouse that
Yeah.
was like somewhat
Video Vault growing up,
smaller scale.
Midwest,
like
yeah.
the fact that Blockbuster went out of business, like the other ones followed suit, and it was a domino effect. So
Here's my-
I am
like-
scared for brick and mortar to go. Like I can't imagine a world where that doesn't exist. Like sure,
right.
like the old saying, like you don't miss it until it's gone. Like
Right.
I'm
I think
scared
that's
of that happening.
I think that's the central problem is we want our cake and we want our cake. What is the
We
saying?
want our cake and we want to eat it.
We
too.
want our cake and we want to eat it too. Because we want to live in a world, and I think in a way, and I've said this before, streaming has kind of created this culture, this state of mind where we're like, we should have access to everything.
Right.
And we don't take into account that in order for physical media to exist, it has to keep getting money. In order for digital storefronts to like do well, they're like we have to curtail. It has to be better than piracy, and so we want both of these things to exist simultaneously. We want them to be equally prosperous because selfishly we want to have access to them at any time it is convenient. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe I like just think of everything like in a weird like cosmic level or something because like a character in Game of Thrones recently said, like, everyone is your friend and everyone is your enemy. Always
Yeah,
picture
Littlefinger.
winning and losing all the time. Well, I didn't want to say because it's a spoiler, but like, whatever. But like, and like someone else was like, that's a really depressing outlook. And I'm like, oh, that's how I always think of things. Like, to me, like, GameStop's already out of business, and like the airlines should have failed, like, you know, like the bailouts, and it's just like, because eventually they will be gone. Like, eventually GameStop won't be around, and it's like, you know, eventually maybe we'll all live in peace and harmony, and like everyone will not hate each other anymore. And it's just like, hey, yeah, I'm just kind of waiting around for that to happen. And like, so it's like, I think eventually like everyone will have internet, and it'll be so blazing fast it won't make a difference. And like, technology will get to the point where it's like things are happening that we don't even picture right now. So it's like, for me, like, it's kind of like crying over spilt milk, because it's just like, look, it's gonna stop happening. Like, it's gonna stop existing, or it's going to change. It's going, if it doesn't adapt, it deserves to go away, because that's your fault.
Yeah.
And like,
I do think it's easy to focus on a big company like GameStop.
Right.
But if you're somebody, if you think, let's say, hypothetically, they announce tomorrow that all physical game stores are going away, and you're like, oh, but this mom and pop that I love so much, I cherish every single time that I go in there. What I want people to do is I want you to decide what you care about. Really think about it. If you are all in on digital, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if there's something about whatever sort of store that you like, if you like the people there, if you like the vibe they have, if you like the way they present themselves, think about supporting them.
I mean,
think about supporting them more. Think about giving them suggestions if there's
I
way
buy
they can
any
be
game
more
I
forgiving
can
to you.
from Gameplay.
Sure.
Help them out.
Yeah.
I was just down in Irvine. My comic shop that I used to ride my bike to in like 4th grade and buy magic cards shut down for a big vitamin shop now.
Oh,
It's
bummer.
gone.
I mean, that's my thing.
Depression.
Is like, I care about human beings. I care about people. I want people to be gainfully employed. I want people to be happy. I want, you know, and that's part of why I'm like, GameStop, whatever. Like, because if the employees aren't being well treated, it's like, I want for those employees. I know it's difficult. I know it's not just an easy thing to go and get another job, because like that's sometimes impossible for people.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I care about these employees. I want them to be happy, you know? And I just want everyone to acknowledge that like technology isn't going to stop. It's only going to get faster, and things are going to change. And so like we need to adapt instead of holding on to the past. Like holding on to finite resources or dying industries, like that's not the answer. It's like we need to grow and change, because things are going to grow and change. And if we don't grow and change with them, you're going to get stuck. You're going to be trapped.
But the only thing that prompts growth and change, really the only thing, is being vocal.
Yeah.
And convincing other people of that like, hey, I believe in this, do you believe in this too? And then you form a collective. Like, voices, like the way that your voice can be heard, you can change so much. Not just that, but also where you're putting your money. Like, people don't think about it. They don't think that, oh, if I buy this game here, I buy this game there, it doesn't matter. It matters a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It matters so much. Just think about it. And I do think if more people were conscious of it, if more people put just a little bit more effort into the decision of where they purchase things, it would absolutely have an effect.
I value human connection more than anything on this earth, and I think about going into a game store and buying a game that people have been waiting years for. I think of that transaction with the
think
clerk.
about those midnight launches.
Exactly, the midnight. You know,
midnight launch.
People give me a hard time for playing Call of Duty every year, but like the midnight launches of everyone waiting in line, meeting people, talking to people, sharing in that moment, or like the clerk. You're there, you maybe go a couple days later, or like the day of, the clerk hands you like a copy of Grand Theft Auto, and you like share a moment together. Just that is gone from digital. There's no connection.
Right.
You just push a button, you get it.
And see, for me, that I love that. Like I get very uncomfortable. Like the quickest way to not sell me on something is to try to sell me on something. Like if some guy comes up and is like, hey, that model's great, but this model has a faster processor, I'm like, please stop talking to me. Please let me do this myself. Oh my God. Like, yeah, I don't want that. I don't want to meet someone in a line. You know, I don't want to have to talk to someone. I want to push a button and have a thing magically appear.
I mean,
that doesn't take up space in my house.
It's interesting because I completely agree with you. As somebody who gets like a little bit nervous in big crowds or it has a tough time talking to strangers, I'm like, thank you, Amazon. You're just gonna whatever I want. You're just gonna make it show up on my door for 2 days, and I love that. But man, that's the tough part about being a human, right? Is when you throw yourself out there and you do have those physical interactions, sometimes it's terrible, and you think to yourself, I never want to do those again.
And sometimes you're surprised.
And sometimes you're surprised, and you think it's amazing, and you want to fight for it because it was so special for you in that instance. And it's hard because I like that guaranteed efficiency, that cold efficiency, but at the same time, like, what if that's all we have?
Yeah.
What are we losing?
I think like Amazon is an interesting example because another example of you hear stories of like weird mistreatment of employees and like the weird strain that they're under to get things out in time is like that's intense.
Yeah.
But then like they are also doing this weird middle ground stuff with brick and mortars, and like they just opened a thing called Amazon at Westwood where it's just they have some at some 7-Elevens they've got those lockers that you can have things delivered to. It's basically a PO box if you haven't got a safe.
7-Eleven?
Some 7-Elevens, yeah.
Whoa.
But now there's a thing called Amazon at Westwood that is literally just a store manned by probably a couple of people.
I thought you were going to say a robot.
No. I think it's a couple of humans. In the picture, there was a man standing behind a desk, so it's like there's a human being there, at least one, theoretically. But it is a bunch of lockers that you can deliver stuff to from Amazon, and it's faster because they have that chain set up. So it's like, okay, I'm going to be in that area. I can have it delivered there safely. It's locked in a locker that I have, like, I don't know, my fingerprint or password for, whatever. Or they do those grocery stores where it just scans your phone, and anything you pick up, you automatically buy. And if you set it back down, you unbuy it.
Whoa.
And then when you walk out, it charges you. I think there's one in Seattle. So it's like the future is happening, and it still is employing people. It's just different and weird. And so like I think that stuff won't go away because human beings are social animals, and I think we still will have ways to interact and meet new people and have things like that, because like maybe instead of switches are mobile now, so maybe instead of a midnight launch, it's a midnight meetup where you've all downloaded the game but you meet up and you play it multiplayer with each other, like stuff like that. Like human beings can find solutions to these problems. Because things are changing and they're not going to stop changing.
Can't stop progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
The future, I like to think that the future trends upward. That things will get, like, people will get better, things will get better. That's what I like to think.
Yeah.
Because generally that's been the case. Like, statistically, if you look at things, it's slow, but things trend toward equality and, like, more prosperity generally.
Yeah.
Very slowly sometimes, and like there are stumbling blocks, but like I think eventually, hopefully, theoretically, that'll be the way.
I can totally respect and understand that viewpoint. The thing for me is, you just never want to be marching forward blindly.
Right.
You always want to think, all right, we're taking another step. What does this step mean? What is it going to do?
Things are very complex. And like I recently heard something that was very interesting because I've always loved both Star Trek and Star Wars. And like people have been pointing out that Star Trek makes people complacent because they assume that there will be a future where every problem is just solved. Whereas Star Wars is like, no, conflict isn't going away.
Right.
And like, I don't think conflict is going away because people always have their own points of view. But like, I don't know.
Check out War for the Planet of the Apes in theaters right now.
What are they building outside?
I don't know what they're building.
We got
It's like that
sawing,
Tom Waits
we
song.
got
What's he
loud
building?
hammering. Find out next episode, I guess.
Yeah, we'll let you know. We'll peek over the fence.
Are we ready for emails?
Let's do it.
Sure, yeah. That was a good HOTTAKE. I feel like
I like it.
it got socioeconomic.
Yeah.
I feel like it is poor form to comment on your own segments, but I agree.
I'll comment for you, Ben.
Okay, thanks, guys. Let us know if you disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should shut that.
Yeah,
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down now.
it's always just
Shut
so
it down
breaking for me
forever.
when we're having these conversations and we're trying to put a lot of thought into them and we're
Trying
getting
to
emotional.
see it from every
and then
angle.
all of a sudden you hear, woo!
Yeah. Bang, bang.
Just like, well,
oh, God.
I'm here.
The only thing I could forgive them building is a treehouse.
Treehouse.
If it's a treehouse, I'm
You know
cool
what?
with it. Anything else,
Yeah. This
stop.
sounds-
Let's
This
assume
sounds
the high
terrestrial.
road. Let's
Yeah.
assume it's a great treehouse.
This sounds terrestrial, so maybe they're building it
And-
on the ground and then they're going to lift it.
We're gonna walk out of this room
Yeah.
And they're going to invite us to be
Yeah.
like, hey.
Or it's Jones.
You're going to... It's Jones!
Jones was building a treehouse in the
Jones
front
is
yard.
playing Dino Frontier in a treehouse.
In real life, yeah.
He's
He's like, oh, hey, guys. We got our VR treehouse set up.
oh, I hope that happens.
It is my dream. I've said this before, but it is like my actual dream. Like, if I ever get like a bunch of money,
Yeah.
treehouse village. I'm building and living in a treehouse village with like all my friends. For
sure.
Like, that is what is happening.
In EverQuest
more.
1, the wood elves lived in trees, and that's why they were my favorite race.
What about the oh my god, I'm a casual.
Robin Hood, Prince
Return
of
of the
Thieves.
Jedi.
Ewoks.
Ewoks.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Ja.
Also Ewoks.
Ewok Village.
Lifted
Yeah,
off
yeah.
the ground. Oh my lord. The tree level in Mist. Oh, it was like my dream.
Now we're at that point in the episode where we go, remember this? That was rad. What if this had happened? That was rad.
We've passed into the iris
10
here.
years from
Yeah.
now. Remember brick-and-mortar stores? That was rad.
Whoa, remember gameplay? You could just go to a place. It took longer than having it
Yeah.
delivered, and it cost more.
Sometimes it'd get like games early.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
When you couldn't have something delivered in less, it took more than an hour.
Our first email, let me change this time code, is kind of along these same lines, but also kind of fun, I think. It is from Brandon. I always get away from the mic when I have to do these time codes. There's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way of doing this. Brandon says, first email, hey everyone, while a great deal of conversation has been had about this year being a phenomenal one for games, I remember a conversation I was a part of that highlighted the 7-year every decade containing unbelievably high quality games rule. What he means by this: in 1987, the world was introduced to Mega Man, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, Contra, and Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, 97.
1997 had the likes of GoldenEye, Star Fox 64, Fallout, Tekken 3, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and Final Fantasy 7. 2007 kicked off a new generation into high gear with, well, let's say when the new generation got its stride, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Halo 3, BioShock, Uncharted, Mass Effect, Super Mario Galaxy, Assassin's Creed, and Portal. Now this year we have Resident Evil 7, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, and of course, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
And Yakuza 0.
Mario
Yakuza
Odyssey
0.
coming up.
Never forget. Not to mention we still have the likes of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, Evil Within 2, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and of course, Super Mario Odyssey, among others.
And Yakuza Kiwami.
And Yakuza Kiwami! I've left off a lot of games from each of these years, but the pattern shows when a year ends in 7, it almost always has been a fantastic time for games. My challenge for everyone: which of these years of 7 has had the most impact, the most
97.
important, just being the overall best? Why 97?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night, baby. Final Fantasy 7.
Do you think a lot of that has to do with you being a young lad in
A young
1997?
lad.
Possibly, but Symphony of the Night is like, it's very good.
So basically, what you're saying,
Symphony of the Night was great.
everything used to be awesome and better than it is now.
No, I think this year is also pretty phenomenal for games.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I also think, it is an interesting coincidence that a lot of great games have come out in the 7s.
Right.
But, like, I bet you could do this with any
Yeah,
year.
you
could
could.
do the
You could do it-
5s
you
and
could do it
find
with-
5 good games in that year.
You could probably do it with like the 8s or the 6s as
Yeah.
well.
Maybe
I just
not
thought
the
it was.
6s.
I just thought it was a fun.
Like, last year kind of blew, in my opinion. But,
Well, yeah, but I think of like 1996
yeah, 96 is
or like
I think of
1998.
98 was out of
2014, and
control.
I'm like, ugh.
Sure, 2014.
Slow year.
Yeah,
like, there have definitely been some lulls.
I do think he makes a
But it is interesting. 7s are pretty amazing.
a compelling case for these years with 7s.
Yeah.
A lot of turning points in these years.
I wonder if it does. I wonder if it does have something to do with where the 7s just happened to fall in the cycle of generations.
absolutely.
Because like
That was exactly what I was gonna bring up.
Games started in what, like 85, 84, sort of. So like that's a few years after, and then like the
Right.
next generation starts, and then it's a few years after. So like I definitely think it has more to do with that,
Sure.
than anything else.
And in 1997, you have the burgeoning of
Yeah.
3D graphics and like just things that we could not do technologically. Like, you know, you're always saying we're having more steps, but they're getting smaller kind of a thing. Whereas like 1997, a lot of big steps. I mean, GoldenEye 007 codifying first-person games on a console, like really blowing it up in a way that it hadn't been blown up before.
didn't it used to be that the console cycle was 7 years? Isn't that the number?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Maybe I'm just making that up. Early
Sounds
Star Trek
made
was all
up.
7 years.
But 2007,
Or maybe it was 9 years. I'm not sure.
I mean, you have
5?
You have BioShock, you have Uncharted, you have Mass Effect, you have Assassin's Creed, you have Portal. I mean,
That's
these
a
are
big
these
year.
are games that are still being talked about with fervor for how just storytelling and game structure and just
And games that are still getting sequels.
right.
Like an Uncharted game is coming out this year.
Right.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
This is one of the best, if not the best year for video games ever for me. I'm not joking around.
Sure.
Because you know, Ian says like these franchises are still getting sequels. You look at the beginning of the year with Resident Evil 7, redefining the franchise. You look at Yakuza 0, another one, a franchise that's been around for so long, giving arguably the best entry in that series. You look at Zelda, another franchise that's been around forever,
Right.
potentially the best Zelda game ever made.
So are you picking 2017?
I'm picking this hands down. Persona 5, you know,
Yeah.
Persona's been around forever. That's arguably the best Persona.
Man of the moment.
Like,
I like
yeah,
it.
we are getting some of the best video games of all time, and a lot of these are a part of franchises that we are so close to. Like Mario is redefining itself,
Yeah.
and that has potential to be one of the best Mario games in the
It
series.
does feel
It's
like we're getting
unbelievable.
into like the revisionist period
Yeah.
of video games where it's like there was the classical period, then there was the like homage period, and now it's revisionist where it's we're looking at what we've done before and improving on it by taking chances, not just trying to replicate the successes. And it does feel like a brave new time.
Brave
right
New
now.
World.
Yeah.
It's 2017 is insane
For games.
for video games. I
Yeah.
cannot handle how good it is. Wolfenstein could be one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time for all we know. You know, everyone still beholden to Half-Life 2,
Yeah.
but like
Wolfenstein
the New Order
really
borrows some
good.
stuff from Half-Life.
Yeah.
Like this could be the one that finally like dethrones Half-Life for being the greatest game. You know, nostalgia is a tricky thing to beat out.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we carry on that legacy and we cling to those moments and we maybe give things kind of a brighter sheen than they originally had when they first came out. But, like,
Yeah.
this year is just...
No, I think you can absolutely make a case for it. I mean, Resident Evil 7, like taking a series that needed a new direction and crushing it in a lot of ways. Not only doing that, but doing it with brand new technology.
Yep.
That is the, like, to this day, and I admittedly need to do a lot more VR experiences, but personally, the best VR experience that I've done.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Yep.
I bet a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to go, man, I wish they had cool, inventive games like Horizon Zero Dawn. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was a breath of fresh air. Yeah, totally. I can absolutely see that happening. But
Even Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy, a little expansion, has the potential to be the best slice of Uncharted they've ever made.
what about 1987? He's pointing to things like Mega Man, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, Contra, and Metal Gear, the start.
That's
so many
kind
things.
of like the opposite of this, where it's like
Right.
that
The birth. Yeah.
birthed all of these things that are now being revised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Revised and refined.
revolutionize, revise,
I
refine,
think-
revolutionize.
I'm
Yeah, like
going
Metal
to-
Gear NES, like,
Yeah,
they've already outdone that with
Sure.
Metal Gear Solid
Sure.
and Metal Gear Solid 3 and...
I guess for me, just purely speaking to nostalgia, 1997 was a point in my life where
Of course.
I understood enough to like enjoy it fully, but I was still a kid and had that wide-eyed wonder, and like all of these things just felt like how did human beings create this?
You
How did
still
human
have
beings
that wide-eyed wonder, Ben.
Oh,
Think
I-
about Dragon
I do.
Quest 11. That's some wide-eyed wonder.
I do, but it was different in the sense of time and
Unshackled by the burdens
Yeah.
of adulthood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shackled
yeah,
by
yeah.
the burdens of adulthood. But no, that's a good thing to bring up. And man, like, yeah, it's just kind of maybe it's kind of a meaningless statement, but I would argue that it's an important one. Dragon Quest 11, man, booting that up. Obviously, I have a bias. Obviously,
that music hits. You're a kid again.
No, but it's just like this world that they made is incredible. How did human beings do this? It's good to feel that sometimes. It's good to connect with that wide-eye wonder sometimes. You can't be consumed by it all the time. And maybe I am too much.
Zelda Breath of the Wild did that for us.
Wild did that for me, man.
Horizon did it for me. Persona 5 did it for me.
Just that feel.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hyrule Field. All the fields.
Anytime you're in like
it's the only game I've ever smelled.
Yeah.
I can smell it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the only game I've ever smelled.
Yep. Breath of the Wild.
The town that you helped that guy build? Ugh.
Terrytown,
dude.
Terrytown
I just like want to be there. You can feel
message of Terrytown 2 is
You can feel the breeze on your skin.
So we're talking very loudly about how much we love Zelda Breath of the Wild and Persona 5 and Horizon Zero Dawn. That feeds well into our next email.
3 goatees.
Yeah.
Reacting to the greats. Hey allies, I just finished Persona 5 about a week ago, and I want to say thank you. When I saw the reveal trailer for this game, the visual style had me interested, but if it wasn't for the hype from the allies, most of all Huber, Brad, and Ben, I don't know if I would have ever been hooked into buying it. So I just wanted to say thanks for opening my perspective to the Persona series and convincing me to play this wonderful game. Nice. I think, as with any game, there are a lot of topics to discuss that come off from Persona 5, but what I wanted to talk about in this email is my personal reaction to the game. I think Persona 5 is one of the greatest games I've ever played. Part of me feels weird for saying that, though, because I don't usually declare that about a game right after I play it. And instead, I'm looking back on it after a couple of months in reverence when I put it in the Thane tier of my personal gaming Valhalla. What does that mean? I think the way... No, what is Thane tier?
Maybe they really liked the character Thane from...
That's...
Mass Effect?
Is Thane a Viking god?
I don't know. I'm not sure what that means.
Tweet
let us
at
know what that
Trailer
means,
Jones
Troy.
what that means.
Very curious. So when I was done with my own journey through Tokyo and the metaverse, I felt more comfortable than I usually do putting in my all-time favorite games. The question I want to get out of all of this is, when do you know that a game is one of your all-time favorites? Is it right after the credits roll or a few months/years after playing?
Both.
When you look back on a game like a fond memory?
All of it. All of the above. During your playtime,
right?
You're playing it and you're thinking in your head, holy moly, this is incredible. This is one of the best games I ever played. This is one of the most fun I've had with a video game in a long, long time. This is giving me those feelings.
Right.
Then you beat it. You still have the feeling. Yeah. And then a couple weeks go by, or a month or couple months, and it's still, the memory of it is still powerful and still there.
Yeah.
For me, almost the most important moment of any game is the second you pick it up, the second you start playing it. The Souls games for me, it was like the second I felt how it played, I was like, oh, right, okay. Breath of the Wild, same thing. Portal, same thing.
Yeah.
The second I pick it up, I'm like, this is a game that I like the way it handles.
Yeah.
So I'm into it. And then it just has to, like, prove me wrong. Like, I'm like, this is the best ever. And then when you're at the end of it, it's like, okay, did it hold up? You know?
I will say, I've had plenty of times where when something felt hot, when I was like playing it, I was like, yep, this is it. This is going in that important list of my favorite games of all time. And for months afterward, I just would feel so good about it, and it was a marriage made in heaven. And then years later, I'm like, yeah, it was good. Not in that list anymore.
What
and
is one of those?
Right.
Give me one.
What was one of those?
Give me one.
I think for me, Portal was one of those where when I finished it... Portal 1. I still love it. Like, I still adore that game. Yeah. I still stand behind a lot of the crazy great things people say about it. It's just not quite in that all-time list anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what? What I'm trying to say is, that's okay. I think sometimes we get this obsession with, all right, I said this thing was my favorite thing, and years later when I change as a person, it is no longer, and we feel like guilty about it. It's okay. That's the beauty of humanity, is we're changing people that have different life experiences that affect how we view and shape things. And if your favorite game list is changing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
It's
wrong
a
at all.
fluid situation.
Fluid situation.
Human beings are very mutable. Like, if your favorite games are always the same, I mean, either those games are real great for you, or like you need to. I mean, you don't need to do anything, but it's like, I would say take another look, see if it still holds up. That'd be an interesting exerse for yourself.
Hold up.
Because I think BioShock is the first game that came to my mind.
That was another one that I was going to say.
That fits into that category. Like when I played it, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Even though the ending was like, and then like a few years later, I was like, love BioShock.
Well,
and now it's like, all right, BioShock, I still love it. But it's, not one of my greats.
In the case of BioShock specifically, there's still so much that I love about it, but the way that it feels, like the way the shooting feels and how that controls, is not... It's bothering me a little bit more than when I first played it. Well, and so that's affecting where...
This raises an
places
interesting thing, too, for me. Like, the Souls series is the perfect example of this, and BioShock is another perfect example where later games in a series can topple their predecessors just by making improvements.
Sure.
So like Dark Souls 1, I love that game, still one of my greats, but like the way that Bloodborne handles is like infinitely superior in my opinion for me.
Yeah.
And like BioShock 2 with dual wielding just like vastly improved on BioShock 1's gameplay.
Well, see, that what's interesting is, like in the case of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I don't disagree with you, but Dark Souls 1 is still my favorite because it has my favorite world.
Right.
And that is just more important to me, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for me, like the Lovecraft cosmic horror stuff is like my favorite thing. So like, while Dark Souls' world is perfect and beautiful and wonderful, Bloodborne is more perfect and beautiful and wonderful for me.
Okay.
Hope we get a Bloodborne too.
We're not friends
There's no
anymore.
guarantees. There's no guarantees in life.
Our final
You
email.
had a Bloodborne 2 button, right?
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, or that was shopped. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
It was a
you never
sweater,
know.
a
You
sweatshirt.
never know. You know?
Everything is fake. Everything is real.
E3 was bizarre. When
Everyone's your friend. Everyone's your enemy. You always succeed. You always fail.
E3 2017 was weird because it was like widely assumed that Bloodborne 2 was like just coming. Everyone's like,
PSX.
Everyone's like, Bloodborne 2 reveal. That should be fun. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You do know something I don't?
I expected From Software to show up at all, which was a little amazing that they didn't. PSX.
Life is just painfully waiting for things.
Yep.
We've been
Life
waiting
is
for
just
Dragon
waiting
Quest
for
11 since
PSX.
2005
Long time.
in a roundabout way.
Long time.
Yeah. Speaking of time,
Yeah.
there's
my
never
God.
enough of it, says Zachary. He goes, hey, allies, I'm hitting a point in my life where I just don't have as much free time as I used to. And it feels awful.
That's
I
called
can't
growing up.
dedicate as much time to video games as I want, but I still find myself clamoring for every moment I can put in some time into what I'm interested in. The kicker is that the games I'm currently playing are games that take hundreds, if not thousands of hours to complete, and some extra content. What is taking you thousands of hours to complete?
Final Fantasy something? 14?
I'm currently playing
Civ.
Final Fantasy 14. Okay. All right, there you go. I'm currently playing
There it is.
Final Fantasy 14 Warframe and working. Okay, all right,
Well,
there
stop
we go.
playing MMOs.
And working on my own RPG with RPG Maker Fez. Cool.
Yeah.
More details to come, he says. Very cool, which I am enjoying a lot. But at the same time, my
Wait,
mind
RPG
wonders.
Maker Fez?
FES, isn't that the 3DS one? Isn't that what it's called?
Oh yeah.
Isn't I mean
I forgot about
I don't know
the
if you
3DS
say
one.
Fez or
it's after MV.
Is it Fez or FES?
I don't know. The other ones are
Because
letters.
he did capital F, lowercase e, lowercase s.
I don't know. The other ones are MV and XP or whatever there are.
The one on 3DS.
Ace. One of them is called Ace, so this one might be Fez.
Semantics.
Yeah, semantics. But at the same time, my mind wonders when I will ever make it to Horizon Zero Dawn or Near Automata, every time, to which I believe are long games in their own right. So my real topic of discussion is, are games becoming too long? Not only are they becoming longer, but they're becoming more frequent at the same time. But of course, this could just be a product of this year of dreams with multiple of these longer games, most of them being RPGs.
I thought they were too long until I got 70 hours into Persona 5,
And you
and now I'm
didn't want
afraid it's going to end. So I think it's a case-to-case basis.
But on the same token, you haven't played Nier Automata.
Exactly.
yet.
There's just too many games.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, if games were a little shorter, like, I still don't think it would really matter as much because there's so many. Even if some games were shorter, like, there's no way you can get to them all. There's
Yeah.
just no way.
Well-
You're going to have to let some slip through the cracks. And it's up to you how much you want to commit of your life to kind of soak them up.
I would say, yeah, I agree 100%. It is up to you, and like, don't let yourself be pressured by zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of starting something and not finishing it.
Yeah.
Like, in hindsight, I would have been okay with not finishing Nier Automata.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that I had the time to finish Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I stopped playing Persona 5 because I thought Nier Automata, I could just, like, play it real quick and then get done with it.
Yeah.
Which was a mistake, because then it took the steam out of my the wind out of my sails for Persona 5. And it's like, I made the wrong decision, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just follow your heart. Play what you want to play. Don't let people tell you what to do.
I did want to say that we've very much answered the spirit of this question multiple times with play what you want to play. But the reason why I chose this email is, one, I feel like this is a problem people are constantly dealing with.
Yeah.
We're constantly dealing with. And two, I had a realization.
Whoa.
So I went on Twitch and I typed in Dragon Quest XI, and I saw a title of a stream that said Dragon Quest XI post-game stream, and I'm like, who are you? How did that happen? How are you in the post-game for this game that came out like 4 days ago? This is crazy. And then I just realized, like, oh, people have different things going on in their lives. Some people are going to be able to get through every JRPG this year, like it's no big deal.
Right.
Maybe not a lot of people, but it's just, there's no way to answer our games too long.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is different, and that's fine. Some people are crazy and can finish these things with no sleep in 4 days, and let them.
Last year, I was preaching so hard about the zeitgeist. We became like obsessed with like catching the boat.
Yeah.
Persona 5, Yakuza 0, and the 2017 Year of Dreams has taught me to abandon the zeitgeist. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many good games to worry about what to play when. It's like, just follow your heart, play what you want to play in that moment, and don't worry, because post-game, Dragon Quest XI, the zeitgeist is over the day the game comes out. Like, someone's already at the end. Zeitgeist over.
Two things.
Like, what?
I think the this word that we use all the time, I think the zeitgeist is whatever we define it as, right? I would argue there's still a zeitgeist for Overwatch, a strong one,
and
burning
Yakuza
bright.
0, because we keep
going
back
so
to it.
the zeitgeist is this nebulous thing that is hard to pin down anyway, and two, some people are masters at riding it.
Yeah.
And some people enjoy that. I just, for as much as we say, hey, go at your own pace, I think the spirit of it is like, you can be relaxed or as intense as you want.
Right.
You're right. I guess I am riding the Persona 5 zeitgeist, cruising down.
It's weird that we would even suggest that the conversation around Persona 5 has died or anything like that, because there are still plenty of people talking about it. Still plenty. I mean, it's a game that could take you 120 hours to get through. Like, there's still a lot of people working through it, and so I think you're on the wave. Yeah.
To me, when a zeitgeist is at its most enjoyable is like when we were all playing Dark Souls 1 at the same time, and we had no idea what was happening, and we were figuring things out as we went.
I do
that
wish...
to me is when a zeitgeist, because like when it's a shared mystery or like a web, like when a game, I don't know, like Fez I think did this kind of, and like when games have this crazy like meta mystery and people don't know what's happening, when the internet becomes like a sleuth and you can get involved in like the almost ARG of it. That I really love, and like I'm a little bummed. Like. It is, I'm a little bummed if I miss out on that kind of zeitgeist. But yeah, I think like missing a Nier Automata zeitgeist or something like that is like almost good, because then you can just take it at your own pace.
Right, and you are probably less influenced by what everyone is saying. Right. I think part of the reason why we use zeitgeist and in this age of the internet is so people strongly feel like this is good, and we love it so much that like all you hear is the good, and so it just becomes a little bit harder to process when you have this thing in your ear constantly screaming how good or bad this is. When you get away from that, it can be helpful depending on the game.
Yeah, I think zeitgeist can be damaging.
Yeah,
like if
absolutely.
Everyone's like, oh my god, this is this kind of masterpiece or whatever, and then you're like, meh.
But for us, what I think would make for better content but is not possible is I love that we all played Breath of the Wild together. Yeah. I think it made the conversations more interesting. I think we all kind of brought our own unique spin to it. I wish we could do it more often, and maybe going into next year, going into 2018, we could reevaluate how we approach things, because I am a strong believer that the more voices, the better.
You want to know when it's going to happen again? Mario.
Mario.
Oh yeah, we're all gonna play the hell out of
All
Mario.
of us in the moment.
But I'd
I
like
think
to
Rabbids
expand
too,
that
maybe.
beyond Nintendo games.
Yeah, well, it's
Not
hard.
that I
like,
don't. It is hard. It is hard.
It's really hard.
We are imperfect creatures.
Yeah.
We have our own biases. But I'm just
Nintendo's
saying.
just like accessible, so everyone
Yeah.
can like easily hop in. Maybe
Especially with that
Definitely.
Switch.
Definitely.
like yeah. I
1,
can't
2,
really
3,
think of
Switch.
the last time it happened was like Bloodborne and Zelda. And
Yeah, but I mean, even something like Detroit, where we're not guaranteed to love it, it'd be cool if we all played through.
What
it.
I
It's
want to
not
do
a
with
big
Detroit is
commitment.
another Until Dawn.
Sure.
I don't
like-
think there's enough characters. There's only like
Oh
3
yeah,
or
but I
4.
mean, I think that all of us playing it together would be really funny.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh god, Kyle trolling. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Hitting
Well,
the
we
Kyle,
can troll him
like,
back.
Kyle like killing
We can
innocent
troll him back.
civilians and
we
laughing
can troll
about
him
it.
back. We'll get his character killed immediately.
We're gonna wind it down. We're gonna wrap up the show.
Do you think Kyle plays Renegade in private
Yeah.
or Paragon? Like in private,
I think he's neutral.
In private, is Kyle like a goody two shoes, and then
No.
just when he's being watched,
Here's
he's
my-
evil in games. Like,
Here's
he's
my
neutral.
answer to that is something I respect. I think he thinks a lot about it. Not decide on a whim.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Takes the context of the game and how it is presenting itself, and then makes his decision. But he commits hard.
Yeah.
He commits hard and is firm.
I just bring it up because I remember he killed the rabbit in Until Dawn like immediately.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Without
bam!
hesitation.
Without hesitation.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
Do
hope
your
we can do more
characters
of that.
usually end up Paragon in
I
games?
play. I'm such a goody two shoes.
Oh really? I always just do what I think makes the most sense in the moment.
Totally, like
and it
Witcher-
always, for me, I always end up like
Yeah.
totally neutral in the
Yeah.
end.
Witcher, I was like mostly good with a little bit of neutral because like of the way you encounter monsters in that game. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
like you might be a good person, but you're also a liability to the greater good. So
I'm almost never purely evil, but I do think it is like what I like about Renegade so much is, yes, you're a jerk, but you're getting it done. And so you like it's just kind of like its own way
Yeah.
of good. I think that is very fun too.
I'm looking forward to
play as.
Divinity 2 because it's like I'm gonna make a character and I'm gonna make some choices.
Yeah. And you can make
Things are
choices
gonna
with a
be
friend.
so weird.
that's
Yeah.
why I
Easy
always.
update incoming.
That's why I
yeah.
love.
Oh baby.
Like that's why I always go back to Witcher over Mass Effect because like
Yeah.
Mass Effect felt so like binary of like
Yeah.
good bad.
It's very binary.
I love just being able to take each moment as it comes and like
Also, I
make
love in
choices
games
like
when
that.
you're not sure which, like
Yeah.
Mass Effect is like they label them. I think where it's
Yeah.
like this is the mean choice, this is the nice choice. I'm like I want to not be sure if I'm doing the right thing sometimes.
I think of The Witcher with the
I want to
werewolf.
not be sure if I'm memeing.
The werewolf
Right.
where you like give him the heart and you can like poison it and it'll kill him.
Yeah.
Or you can like cure him, but he's also like a murdering psychopath. It's like, but he's like wants forgiveness.
We should retroactively go back and give Witcher 3 the game of the year. And keep
We-
Bloodborne the game of the year.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
I will burn this
Just have
place
to.
to the ground.
We are wrapping up this show. We're ending it at under 3 hours.
Nice.
Just
But
barely.
by 10 minutes, we
made it.
Just barely.
I might still
but
make
we
it to the
made
Dark Tower.
Yeah, you might still make it to this movie that you really want to see. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't know. I never know how it's going to go. I never know how the audience is going to perceive it. Just being here in the moment, I enjoyed the conversations with you guys. You really were very active in all of the discussions. You played along with me super well, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Michael Huber. If you want more of us, go to patreon.com/easyallies. You can see everything that we're doing. It's also the best way to support us. Thank you to our first sponsors of the Frame Trap. This is kind of like a cool special moment for
Yeah,
me
that's fun.
and for you guys. I hope you check those guys out and give them some love. And thank you so much, sponsors, for supporting the show. We will see you next time.